First of all, I'd like to say that it's 10 o'clock. It's time to start court here. We do have a guest with us today. Rita Coaches right here from TAC is here to watch and see what we do today. So be on your best behavior, okay? Let's don't get a bad report back to Austin. How we do. And it's February 27th, 10 o'clock. We would like to go ahead and convene court. And let's do that first of all by asking Mr. Hollis Parsons here to lead us in a word of prayer.
Father, we thank you for this beautiful day that you've given us, the sunshine. This is a day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Pray that you would just watch over these men and these who are here today for this meeting, that you would guide, direct, and just give them the wisdom they need to do what needs to be done in Cooke County, Texas. We love you this morning and give you all the praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Hollis, you're more than welcome to sit here and watch us.
I'm sure I will.
I'm sure you're not going to. Okay. I believe it's Adam's turn to please lead our pledges.
The United States flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. All right. Thank you very much. Has there, first of all, we have called to order our opening prayer, the pledges. Do we have anybody signed up for public comments on agenda items?
Yes, sir. We have two.
Okay.
So Zach is here, and he is going to talk about the radios. And then we also have Mark Johnson from Motorola to talk about the radios as well.
Okay. Before we do that, I know what that's the next thing on the agenda here, but Barry, did you have something you had to get to right away, or?
As long as I'm up there at the beginning of the agenda, I
Okay.
can my next meeting.
Then we'll go ahead and do those comments on the agenda items then. And we'll start off with Mr. Zach Cooper.
Or those are later.
They're on, you want to do them at the agenda time? Or
Yes.
Or you want to do them now?
Well, let's wait till the agenda time. Good idea. Okay, the consent agenda is next. And the consent agenda includes non-controversial and routine items that the court may act on with one single vote. The judge or a commissioner may pull any item from the consent agenda in order that the court discuss and act upon it individually as part of the regular agenda. Does anybody see anything that you would like to pull and discuss further?
I'd like to pull P.
P. All right. Item P is deliberate and consider possible action regarding the bid award for Cooke County Bulk Fuel, Red River Farm Co-op, and Douglas Distributing.
I'll make a motion we approve everything except for P, then we can talk about P.
Okay. Motion is made to approve everything but item P. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second is Commissioner Arndt. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And there are none. All right, take it away.
What it says, what do we got going on? It says regarding the bid award. Where are we at on this? I know we put it out for bid, but haven't heard.
Well, it's supposed to have been its own agenda item is to award the,
Okay. I didn't even click on it in here. Y'all looked at the numbers? like Douglas again, huh? No.
To me, like you split it just like you did before.
Yeah. There's two. Oh, I see. No, I was just looking at the numbers. Last years prior, we've been splitting it so we have two options. That way the ambulances, deputy cars have options.
So your bids have sheets on page 131.
How what you think, Gary?
What we did last year was do at the pump with Red River, delivery with Douglas.
I'm good with that again. Y'all, do you remember this last year?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, we have to have that pump for them to get to. I mean, it's, unless you're gonna set a tank up for them somewhere, and that's, how much is that gonna cost? It's not that much.
Where are you gonna do
And
it?
what are you gonna do? Our fuel. So we buy EMS and Sheriff's Department go to co-op to get it. We're at the barn, we have our own tanks.
Right.
But to get EMS into, they've got to be able 24/7, 365. So co-op is a little bit, just a fraction higher, but not much. But if we had to buy tanks and set up for them, it would be way more than that, or even over 20 years. It wouldn't, you'd never pay for it. I'm good with keeping it.
They're cheaper on diesel, but one of them's cheaper on diesel, the other one's cheaper on gas. The way I read it. So if we split it like we did, then it would be,
Y'all have gas delivered to your barn?
yes.
And other than diesel?
Yeah, diesel and ethanol free at the barn
Yeah.
there.
So is this split the same way as it has been?
We can choose to do that.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we award the bids for the pump at Red River and delivery for Douglas Distributing.
Okay, the motion has been made by, let me read this here. The motion has been made by Commissioner Snuggs to pass item P as it is that correct?
No.
No?
You need to say Red River at the pump and Douglas Distributing delivered.
Okay, Red River at, okay.
That's what I
Say
said.
it the way you want it.
That's what I said.
Okay.
A motion to approve Red River at the pump and Douglas Distributing delivered to our barns.
Okay. The motion has been made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Hart. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. Item P passes 5-0. Brings us to item number 7, and at this time, I'm going to ask Barry if you'd like to come forward and
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir.
The city of Gainesville approved its first HERS a couple months ago, and that's a tax increment reinvestment zone. And with that, the city, part of this was coming up with a preliminary agreement, not a preliminary agreement, but a preliminary plan. Y'all have a copy of that preliminary plan, I believe, in y'all's packets. And that lays out sort of how this TERS will operate. And basically what we're asking for Cooke County and the other taxing entities is participate at the same level the city is at 50% of the increment. And with that, we have 3 different projects this money will go to. The first area will be a bridge on 1202, which would be a state bridge. The second tier, tier 2, and these are listed in no areas of importance. It's just how we separate the funding will be the public improvements on site, and that's roads, water, sewer, and drainage. It does not include gas, it does not include electric, but the developer can be repaid for those costs, actually up to 80% of those costs plus interest. And the third area is into a 380 agreement. The county nor any other taxing entity will put money in that tier 3. That is only the city of Gainesville, because state law only allows for a 380 to go in there, and that's basically our different economic development incentives. That would be similar to y'all's 381s, but the law only allows 380, so the city's the only one to participate. Now with more specifics getting into this plan, I have Kyle Skorsky. He is the consultant that worked with the city to develop this TERS. He actually works for the city. He does not work for the developer. And he can go through, and he's made a PowerPoint presentation to show you what that all incurs. And while he's coming up, I would also like to give y'all the agreement that the city has approved with the developer, Camp House Development Partners. This happened at our last council meeting, and basically this upholds what this preliminary plan shows and what monies will go, where it will go, and what will be reimbursed and what will not be reimbursed, but it agrees with the plan. When we get, if y'all agree to be part of this and partner with us on this, the final plan, because this is what y'all have as a preliminary plan, that is the first thing that the board will approve. It is the final plan, which we expect it to be very similar because all the money has to reach out. That's why you have to do the preliminary to make sure it's an affordable endeavor for everybody to do. So I'll let Kyle come up and make his presentation, and I'll hand these out to you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Again, my name is Kyle Sikorsky. I'm with P3 Works. We've been working with the City of Gainesville for close to 9 months really at this point on this project. And so we're very excited to be at this point, kind of the final steps, and appreciate the time this morning to be able to talk to you about this project. If you'll flip to page 2 of the presentation I passed out, I'm just going to give a 30,000 foot overview of what a TERS is, kind of the impacts, and then certainly if you have questions at any time, feel free to stop me. I'm happy to go into more detail. TERS is governed under Chapter 311 of the Texas Tax Code. What it does is when you create a TERS, it sets a physical boundary around a specific piece of property. At the time of creation, a base value is set. And so the property taxes that you're collecting today, that is your base value for the entire life of the term, and after the zone ends, you continue to receive the value from that base that is taxed. Any new incremental value that is created after the creation of the zone goes into what's called a TERS fund. And so if you agree to participate at a certain percentage, the city is participating at 50%. Then any new incremental value that is generated, 50% continues to flow back to your general fund, and 50% of that new incremental value flows into the TERS fund to pay for public infrastructure. So the beauty of it is there's very low risk from the perspective of the entities that are participating. If this project does not perform, you are not adversely impacted. You're still receiving the same property taxes you were before, and there's just no payments going into that TERS fund. Also, the TERS has an end date. So the TERS have been created to only run for 25 years. Majority of TERS run for about 30 years. So this is a little bit of a shorter duration, but at the end of the life of that 25 years, 100%, so your base and 100% of your new incremental value that's been created will continue to flow back to the county. So you have a designated start and end date, a designated increment percentage, and also included in the participation agreement is a specific dollar amount. So based on the feasibility analysis that we've prepared, you have a set dollar amount, and so you have a maximum dollar contribution that the county would participate at. And so if this project overperformed, it's not like it's a blank check. You hit that maximum dollar amount, and then your participation at that point ends under your participation agreement. So it's a very useful tool. It's used very commonly throughout the state. We've seen it implemented many times, especially in industrial projects such as this. Large benefit of it is the developer is putting a lot of skin in the game. So you are not providing any upfront financing to the developer. There is no bonding anticipated with this project. That's included in the project and finance plan that we've approved, that there are no TERS bonds anticipated. And so the developer is fronting 100% of the public infrastructure and his private infrastructure at his own costs. And then as the project performs and you see value come online, they're able to get reimbursed over time. If you'll go to page number 3, this is a picture of the boundary that's been created. You'll see just west of 35 and south of FM 1202. If you go to the page after that on page 4, that's going to give you kind of a better depiction of what we anticipate this property could develop as. This was prepared by the developer, and so this is just looking at if 100% of this property builds out, what could we possibly see in terms of building square footage, building location. A huge benefit of this project, and part of the reason why a TERS was created and requested by the developer, is you'll see there is significant rail infrastructure that's included within this industrial development. Rail infrastructure is not a public improvement, that is a private improvement. And so up front in just rail infrastructure, it's estimated that there's $7 to $10 million in rail infrastructure costs before you get it into the public improvements of roads, water, drainage, sanitary sewer that Barry was mentioning earlier. And so you have a very significant development that could come online, but you do have some cost hurdles from the developer's perspective that they have to get over. The benefit is if you get over this is a very high quality industrial project, especially when you bring the rail online. Now that's a very specific type of industrial you're dealing with. And we anticipate that this would bring in over 1,000 jobs into the city of Gainesville. And so not only do you have the benefit of new property tax increment coming online, you also have new residents as well. And that benefits not just the city and the county, it benefits, the college district has already agreed to participate in the TERS. They see that benefit of, having new workforce coming in and being able to train them. Because typically with these rail jobs, you're going to see a higher demand in the employment or in the education that's required for this type of project. So if you'll go to the next page on page 5, this just kind of gives a breakdown of that concept plan. So they anticipate that building square footage, that this could build out to over 5.7 million square feet in new buildings at total build out. If you're looking at 2023 dollars, we anticipate that we used a pretty reasonable value per square foot and very conservative growth metrics. But in 2023 dollars, we anticipate that this would add over $400 million in taxable value. At the end of the life of the zone, so 25 years later, that we anticipate that the build-out value with a conservative build-out schedule would be approximately $622 million. And so you're going from raw land today that's taxable, only closer to $100,000, and so you're receiving very little property taxes off of that, and now you're getting to taxable value of $400 million to $600 million. And then at the end of the life of that zone, now you're receiving the full benefit of all that value that's come online. Included in this slide just lists some of the services that they would anticipate bringing in. So they've already got things lined up for electric, gas. Like Ray said, all of that is private, but also the rail infrastructure as well. If you go to page 6, this is, again, where I mentioned the $622 million. This is just a visual of how we would anticipate getting to that. So you have an estimated build-out schedule of about 10 to 12 years. So you'll see, when you get to 2030, that's really kind of when we anticipate full build-out occurring. It could happen faster, it could happen slower. Again, the benefit is, really no risk to the county if it overperforms or if it underperforms. You have very set metrics within your participation agreement. And so this is really just, if it overperforms, the developer is going to get recouped his dollars faster. If it underperforms, he's going to get recouped slower. And if you get to the end of the life of the zone and he hasn't been recouped everything that we included in that TERS agreement, he just doesn't get those dollars. That fund goes away and funds are returned back to the various entities. If you go to page 7, this kind of gives you a net impact from the various entities that are participating. I already mentioned that the college has agreed to participate. The hospital has also agreed to participate in this board, in this TERS. The city, the college, and the hospital have all agreed to participate at 50% of their increment for the next 25 years. And so if you look at the TERS contribution and the new net revenue, your first column is looking at what you would be dedicating to the TERS. Your second is what you would be looking at in having new revenue over the life of the 25 years of the zone. And so since you're at a 50% increment, essentially those two numbers are the same. So for the county, you would have a maximum contribution of $9,717,000. That is the number that was included in the participation agreement in your packets. And again, since you would retain 50% of that new revenue, you would have net benefit of $9.7 million over the life of the zone. And then again, when that zone ends, you start receiving 100% of that taxable value afterwards. Page 8 is essentially the same numbers as the page before. It's just showing it in graph form. So you can see the city being the largest participator in this zone and the county being a second. You can see that kind of follows that same build-out schedule of, you have your revenues come on, or your new buildings come online over about 10 years. And then after that, you have a very flat growth. We project 3% annual growth in value. And for every 10 years, we have 2 years of no value to simulate an economic downturn. So these are very reasonable growth percentages, I would say. Not like you often see with developers where they're saying their values are going to increase 7 or 8% a year. Page 9. Barry went over this very, very briefly. This is a breakdown of your project costs. So again, these are in no particular order of importance. From the perspective of the county, you would only be participating with your 50% increment in Tier 1 and Tier 2. And so Tier 1, again, is that TxDOT bridge. We have included in there that Tier 1 will go up to a maximum contribution from all the entities of $5 million. As a local match. Again, that would be a state bridge, and so we estimate the cost of that bridge to be about $25 million, and then just having $5 million being the local match from the various entities. Tier 2 is when you think of public infrastructure, roads, water, sewer, storm drain, that is your Tier 2 costs, and so again, the developer has estimated this to be just under $25 million. Again, they are the ones that are putting this infrastructure in the ground. They are the one financing it up front, and then they're being reimbursed over time. As Barry mentioned, we want the developer to have skin in the game. This is not a blank check, and so only 80% of the Tier 2 project costs that they install will be reimbursable through the zone, so they have to pay 20% of that public infrastructure. And then Tier 3, again, economic development grants, they'll go through the 380 grants, and only cities can participate in those within the zone. And so any county increment will only be going to public infrastructure, it won't be going to any 380 development grants. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions. We're excited again to be at this point, and more than happy to give any further detail that we can.
How many of these have you been involved in?
So I've been involved in the creation of probably about 20 TERSs at this point. Our firm was started by Trent Petty, who's been in city management for, I don't want to age him, for about 40 years now. He started out in Lubbock, was city manager in Grapevine and Westlake. So he's been doing reinvestment zones since the 90s. So I'm a little bit younger than he is, but it's a very frequently used tool. So in just a few years that I've been part of the company, I've certainly done quite a few. It's a very common tool because it is so, I would say it's city and county friendly, because again, with how this TERS is structured, the developer is putting in that infrastructure at his own cost, and so it's very low risk. And again, with the TERS board, they retain control of that TERS board, and so that consists of the city council and mayor, and then each participating entity also has a seat on that TERS board, and so that board is not at all developer controlled. That control remains with the entity. So it's a very city and county friendly tool. So it is very commonly used across the state.
Give me an idea of what size counties/cities have entered into these agreements before.
Sure. So we've done them all across the state. I personally have worked in Tarrant County, Denton County, Wise County, Collin County. It's a very common tool. I would say I believe this is the first one in Cooke County. So I understand it's new, but it's a very commonly used concept.
Well, the reason I ask that is because I've noticed you mentioned several counties that were much larger in population, especially than Cooke County is. And I'm trying to get my mind around the impact that would make to our taxes. One thing and another.
Sure. And so TERSs are often used in residential development as well. We have a cost impact analysis that we do for cities, especially when you're dealing with residential, because residential obviously is where you're going to have your highest cost of service. And so we're very careful with the amount of increment that you do give away when you're dealing with the residential development. Again, the great thing about this, with a industrial development, you have a very low cost of service. You're not having the calls out to neighborhoods with your police and fire that you typically would. And so even though you are giving up 50% of your increment, you're now receiving, increment as compared to if this project does not develop, you're just collecting property taxes on raw land, which is basically, $0 in property taxes for you.
Yeah, I think it's $174,000 is the value of the land now for the whole 429 acres in the TERS. So anticipating investment of that value jumping up because of new buildings going into over $401 billion, and then with inflationary by the end, that inflationary factor coming in over 15 years, we're looking at around $622 million value for the land compared to, once again, 174,000 now. So basically you're getting less than the value of one house on that 429 acres right now.
And to add on to that as well, independent school districts cannot participate in reinvestment zones. And so your ISD is going to also see the benefit of this development without having any new residential. So they're going to get 100% of that new property tax value. So not only is this benefiting the city, it's also going to be benefiting your schools with that new increment.
Can the school then in turn do their own abatement on their side on that chapter, on the section, whatever it's called, the school abatement?
I don't believe so, no.
There's certain things they can do, but that's not even brought up with this developer. We told this developer from the very beginning, our ISDs are not going to be participating.
I was just curious. So, with the value immediately jumping to that, it's locked in for that 25 years. After the 25 years, when the value goes up with the inflation and increase and everything, is it like all of a sudden jump? Like after 25 years, they need to be prepared to it to be worth, potentially double,
So from the perspective of the property owner?
Yeah.
So
Or is
from
it gradual increase after that?
So from the perspective of the property owner, they don't see any impact when it comes to the zone. Your property taxes are still valued and appraised in the same manner. They're still collected. It's just a matter of accounting on the back end of before it was all going to the county. Now we're going to send 50% to the county, 50% to the city.
What I understood was that the value is locked. So like Barry said, 400 million, it's locked in for 25 years, but then after that, it goes up.
No, it won't be locked.
Okay.
What'll happen is we estimate a percentage of houses as buildings as they get constructed, and those values will just come on regularly.
Oh, okay.
And so there's no lock. The appraisal district will go out and say, this is valued at $200 million. Maybe they have a few buildings go up. Here's $200 million value. And then each year, just like we see property values go up and down through the years, but generally with inflation as they go up. And so we work the inflationary numbers. They'll just see it like regular property.
Okay.
And everything with the TERS, like he said, happens on the back end. It's not like an abatement where all of a sudden that person just doesn't get taxed on it. This person gets fully taxed. Whatever goes into that TERS account will allow them in that agreement. We just provide y'all, they'll be able to ask for repayment on a quarterly basis, but we will only pay them once a year, and we pay them, of course, after we receive our property tax. And it will probably be sometime in February or March when we pay them, because we will collect our property tax in January. Sometimes it takes a couple extra weeks to get everybody that paid on that very last week of January to get that in there, so we'll get through there, get our payments, get the TERS set up, and then we'll make that payment annually based upon their qualifying receipts.
And that's one of the things when we talked about this a couple months ago when I had the worst migraine of my life that day, by the way, so it was blurred. But if they're requesting the money, does the TERS board oversee what they're going to use that for? So like, it seems like if this $25 million bridge has to go up, they wouldn't be requesting annual payments. That would be sitting there stockpiling in order to build that.
They wouldn't get anything for the bridge. What would
Okay.
happen is that money would stockpile, and when it was time for us to make a deal with TxDOT, which I'm personally hoping, because we have reached out to TxDOT and asked them if this federal money that's out, this is an ideal project for some of that federal money's out, because it deals with the rail park, economic development, the environmental friendliness, because it takes trucks off the roads and puts them in trains. So we're asking them to ask for 100% of funding. But if we have to have that, a lot of times it moves you up on the scale if you have a little bit to put in.
Okay.
So even though $5 million is a lot for this project, roughly 90% of it. But if they decide, hey, we're gonna pay for it 100%, at that time we say, we haven't agreed, this is the money we have, that can either go back to the entities or it goes to their maximum max payout of the 9.7 that y'all agreed to. And so we can get that done sooner. But, so that's how all that works. For that would be paid into the state. And of course, that would be all, state and local agreement. And then for their match, what they would have to do to get their money back is they're gonna have to put the infrastructure in. Once we approve it, that's why they'll turn in quarterly receipts and ask what they've actually accomplished. They don't get anything back unless we've approved it and accepted it through our subdivision regulations. So this isn't partial payments that, we have a part of the street done. Until we accept it, until that becomes a part of infrastructure, which it does not until we accept it, at that point they become qualified. And at that point they can turn in their receipts and we can reimburse them up to 80% of what it costs them plus interest.
That makes more sense. I was thinking that they could just get the money back along the way without, they have to invest the money into the infrastructure and items before they receive it, the reimbursement for that.
Yes, so that they're gonna have to put in a street. Now, we expect it to happen over 10 years, so they'll do a preliminary plat, probably for most of the park or a big section of it. Then they'll come in and get a final plat on a section. They'll go ahead and build that. Now, they're gonna qualify for the section they build. So it might be 2 years later before they build the next part of the park. Because they're not gonna get in over their skis before they sell certain areas. You know, things along 1202 is more likely to sell faster because it already has everything right there. You get some of the interior streets, you know, to them, it might make more sense to, but if they have a big customer, you never know which way they'll go.
Right.
But that's, and also we expect there to be changings in this. And if some big company comes out and says, I want this size building over here where you got a smaller one, and vice versa, we want to put a big building where you have two smaller ones, and that might cross where there was going to be a public street, we might have to rearrange how that gets laid out. And we're, and I believe the contract says if they make a change, anything over 15%, we'd have to go to council for approval. Anything under the 15% changes in the streets that I can approve, because once again, if they're just moving something a little bit, changing an intersection, we don't want to hold up development, but we want to have control that they're going to do. The beautiful thing about this is they have to prove up they spent the money, and we accepted it. We said those roads, streets, those water sewer lines were acceptable to the city. We took them on ownership. We have to maintain them from there on. So there's where the check and balance comes in, and then they have to turn us in their receipts and their checks. And that's, P3 will be working with us to make sure everything is done according to the law, and all the check boxes have been checked, and make sure it gets reported properly. And then at the end of the, or beginning of the year, sort of for us, we'll bring it back to the overall board and say, this is what they've done, this is what we've approved, y'all have any disagreements, okay, then we can pay it out of the church fund.
That makes way more sense right there, but it's
And there are
clicking.
lots of checks and balances, and let's say all of a sudden inflation stops and prices just drop. Well, if they don't spend the money they said they were gonna spend, it goes down with their reimbursement, and the max, they don't get the max amount of money set aside, they get 80% of whatever they invested. So there's all kinds of stop gaps in here. There's a stop gap on your percentage, there's a stop gap on the years, there's a stop gap on the max you put out, there's a stop gap on how much they invest, and on 80% of what they invest. There's a hard number on interest that they cannot go over, no matter if it costs them more, no matter what's happening, or they build stuff earlier and then it doesn't develop, so they don't get their money back as quickly on their side. There's a maximum amount of interest in there, so there are stop gaps throughout this process and regular checks on a quarterly and annual basis. Mainly, the board's good, but what I really see dictating this is the plan, which will be the first thing the board approves, and then that contract, which just is everything we're telling you what we're gonna do. That contract does it about 3 different ways and makes it much more detailed on how the entities will be protected in this manner.
Having not read the contract, obviously, what happens, say TxDOT comes in, gets ready to build the bridge, and they get it built out, and they need our match money prior to the infrastructure being built, not the infrastructure in reality, but actual structures inside this development, so that we're actually have the ad valorem income to pay for it.
That's just gonna be something the city is gonna have to work out with them.
I mean, you get my scenario.
Yeah, I get it, but that's gonna be just something the city's gonna have to work out with them.
And my thought is, I see what you're saying, my thought is that the TxDOT's not gonna see the justifiable reason to do it until some of the buildings start hitting. I would think.
But if they're gonna start building structures, they're gonna build infrastructure to the structures, I would guess, okay? So there might be a situation where we're reimbursing them for infrastructure before the actual structures are built and we see an increase.
The
in
county would not have any liability in that. And the TERS itself would have no liability. That would be an interlocal between the state and the city.
And you'll see all those buildings.
But at some point in time, tier one, part of what we would reimburse is tier one, which is the bridge, right? Okay? All of a sudden it's done, but we don't have any structure inside the industrial park yet, and we're not drawing any monies. How could I not meet my commitment with TxDOT?
You wouldn't have a commitment with TxDOT.
Somebody does, right?
Yeah, that would end up probably on the city's shoulders to figure out how to get that financing in before the TERS. If the TERS hadn't provided that money there, that would be on whoever signs the contract with the Department of Transportation. This TERS does not do that. This TERS does not tie us to even have to do that. Let's say the state of Texas comes in and says, we're not gonna build a bridge. That money's sitting there, and then at some point, if that's not gonna happen, we have to then return the money to the taxing entities.
Just a thought.
But this does not tie y'all into having to fund that if there's no money into it. This TERS agreement makes you fund nothing except what money is in the TERS.
But right now, the county doesn't have a contract. So where would that be documented, Barry? How would we need to go take care of that?
I'm not understanding what
You said, all right,
contract.
we are contributing into the, to the TERS. 50% of that enrollment's going to go in the TERS, okay? There's a reimbursement required to TxDOT at some point, right?
We have no contract with TxDOT to do any reimbursement, so that is not correct.
Okay, then on tier one, it says that part of tier one will be paid by the TERS, or out of the TERS, is that not correct?
Yes, money will go into
The
the
TERS,
TERS.
and then it will be dispersed, the tier one will be funded, or percentage of tier one will be funded out of the TERS, right? And that's TxDOT. So how am I not committed?
You're not committed because we don't have any agreement or legal agreement with TxDOT.
Okay.
This is, what we're trying to do is with this, it just allows the funding to be there in case we need it. This does not legally tie anybody to have to, this is a limit that money can be used for. That's the same, a percentage of what we put in to the TERS will go to this line. And that's the only line we'll be able to spend out of that is for that bridge. If it doesn't come to fruition, the money goes back to the taxing entities. If it does come to fruition, the city will have to sign an agreement with TxDOT if they want a match from us, and we had arranged how that match was done. If we have to pre-fund it, then the TERS could repay us, because that money would be going to that. If the state would agree that, hey, you can pay us $1 million or $2 million, because that's how much is in the TERS, and over the next 5 years you can pay us, that will come about at that time. This, one, y'all are signing no agreement with anybody. Y'all have no legal liability except to put 50%, if y'all agree to the 50% in the TERS. Then everything is up on the city's shoulders to make sure it gets legally distributed, and the board, of course, will be part of that, but the city's the one signing the contracts and the one that's gonna be taken to court and has the legal liabilities to do what's right. The court's not having legal liability except to put that percentage in the TERS, whatever
Yes.
y'all agree to.
Now, I don't know if you can answer this question or not, but let's say the county doesn't get involved. Is the city still gonna go ahead and go with the TERS?
The
Or?
TERS is created.
Okay, so you're still gonna, it's gonna go on.
Now, if the
even without-
development will go on, I can't
Right.
tell you that, because I don't know if they'll have the funding to go on with this development.
Okay.
To get the 1,000 jobs, to get the $622 million additional dollars worth of taxable property. I can't tell you that will happen. I'm telling you, we need your help with that. That's why we're asking you to participate.
When do you need an answer from us? I know everybody else sort of giving answers.
As soon as possible would be the best. But y'all don't get legally tied into any of these projects, what y'all have to do, and y'all don't have any legal tie into it.
But we do have a commitment to the money,
Huh?
right? We got a commitment to the money.
As
Yes.
it comes in.
Yeah.
but not a commitment to get the bridge done, not a commitment to get infrastructure done, not a commitment to any outside party. It's just that-
But we commit to the money, so for us to contribute to money, we need to have collected the money.
That would be the only way we would.
But you're not committed to the money, you're committed to the percentage of the increment that comes in. So once again, you don't have to pay, your max you're committed would be 9.7 million. But you're not committed to put that much in, you're only committed to put whatever percent you agree to for the TERS. We're asking for 50%. If that 50% only brings in $2 million, that's all that you're committed to. Once again, we have so many stop gaps in here to protect the entities. This isn't like a 10-year tax abatement where whatever happens, happens. This has specific amounts of money, specific percentage of money. Once anything's hit, it can end early, it can't go any later, and we move forward.
Just a different way to look at tax abatement. There's no guarantee of jobs, it's just
Right.
I mean, I see that it happening.
But if
It's
there's
just
no
a different way to look
jobs,
at it.
chances are it didn't develop, and so chances are you're not giving up anything or much.
100%.
Like I said, right now, it's less than the average house, what you're getting for that acreage.
Y'all have any questions?
And it's probably, it was not ag, 'cause some of it's ag right now.
And a lot of it's government, zero.
Yeah.
That's all there is to know about it. I say that tongue in cheek, but I think, if you don't mind, I think we need to talk about this a little bit more before we commit to that. I don't know, do y'all agree with that, or?
It's, the agenda item doesn't have, you can't take an
Yes.
action on it.
Well, we can't take an action on it anyway, because of the way it's in the agenda.
Okay?
I definitely feel
But,
better about it.
Say
And
again.
I feel a whole lot better about it than I did the first time
Oh,
we
yeah.
talked. Like I
Yeah.
said, I didn't feel good that day, and it was
Well-
a lot.
Why don't we bring this back?
Well, 100%.
Yeah,
And I can
next
come
board,
back in
and,
case y'all have an additional question.
If you don't mind, just make a place in your schedule and come on back, because I'm sure we'll have more questions.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, thank y'all very much.
Both of you.
Thank you.
All right. So item number 7 is the presentation. There was no action. Treasurer's report number 8. Oh, hey Doug,
yeah.
can you also come back in a couple of weeks? Can you also come back in a couple of weeks? I didn't see you sitting back there. I was looking for you to ask a question or two, but,
I was hiding behind there.
I know, that's why, no foul.
I was taking notes.
Matt, do you need him for Fair Board?
No, there won't be anything to discuss.
Hey, well,
Yeah. So if you can come back with them in a couple of weeks, that might be helpful too. Appreciate it.
Isn't there a,
What?
no, never mind.
Item number 8, Treasurer's Monthly Report.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Commissioner Snubbs has moved to approve the Treasurer's Monthly Report.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Arndt. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? There are none. Item number 8 passes 5-0. Thank you, Patty. Item number 9. Open a public hearing, and it will be at 10:50. Agreement for development and tax abatement in reinvestment zone number 23.
That's what I was
That-
asking.
is that
if he
you
was-
again,
that's why I
Barry?
was asking if he was staying.
All right.
Is this the tractor Bob?
Yes, it is.
Yes. The city approved a tax abatement for Tractor Bob's a few months back, and this tax abatement is 70% for 4 years, 60% for 3 years, 50% for 3 years. So it's a total of a 10-year abatement. On top of that, besides, they have to specifically, this is different from a lot of our previous agreements. This tax abatement, they're required to create at least $17 million of taxable value. And usually we say they're gonna invest that amount. This one says they are tied to having $17 million worth of taxable value, increased taxable value out there. And so, and if they fall below that 17 million taxable value, the abatement stops for that year. And if they don't create it within a certain time period, they do not get the abatement. On top of that, we also have more stringent, which we're not used to having, but as more we go through this, we're getting more and more stringent on these requirements. There's going to be a job requirement by the end of December 2024. They'll have to have 50 employees. By the end of December 2026, they'll have to have 150 employees. By December 2028, they'll have to have 200 employees. And by December 2030, they'll have to have 300 full-time employees. So in this agreement, it's a little different from in the past too. Usually, we used to do a thing where we put all the taxing units and they'd have one contract. That's really not, I was surprised when I got here, and that's the way they did it because I'd never seen that anywhere except Cooke County. And then as we've moved forward, we're actually have moved into a more traditional way that it usually happens in the state, that we just pass the abatement, we send it out to the other entities, and they decide if they want to do it. A lot of times the entities are doing their own contracts because they want something changed here or there, and that's their legal right to do that. And that's the reason this time you did not see the agreement going out with the signature page, the same agreement going out to all the entities with the signature page for all the entities, because most of those entities, and so that contract didn't mean anything as a whole, so everybody just ended up doing their own. So that's the basics of this tax abatement. I'm open for any questions, but once again, this is up to y'all if y'all want to do this, and we just send it to y'all as required by law.
I like the requirements. This is how all abatement should be. And it seems like, doing my research on the company, that like, all goes well, they'll exceed these employment numbers, I would think.
They have a pretty good big contract with Yanmar. Everybody keeps saying the place is going to sell tractors. Well, the biggest portion of that is actually going to be a distribution center. That's the biggest use of that entire area, is going to be distribution. Are they going to sell Yanmar tractors and other farming implements? Yes. And are they going to have a place to work on these and do modifications to different implements for farm? Yes, they are, but the biggest part of this is going to be actually a distribution center.
They build things too. They manufacture implements and stuff too, don't they?
Well, they don't manufacture them.
Okay.
They assemble and then they modify specifically. I know they do a lot of work with for handicapped farmers and stuff, help them get in and out off of things, work things with only one arm or one hand, one leg. As y'all know, that's happens a lot in farming with those types of incidences.
Yeah.
So they do that type of work on these, and then they will assemble some of the items that they distribute as well, and plus the ones they're going to sell.
Only thing I've noticed was a little bit different about this one. They're already occupying the building instead of them
Well,
considering.
before we handed this to them, the city provided this before they owned the building.
Okay.
And then it was only within the last few weeks that they purchased the building. And the city and the other taxing entities had at that time already decided for a tax abatement. So, any questions for me?
17 million employees, it's pretty good.
I went through it earlier.
Yeah, I figured you did. It's
Yeah.
just easier when we're sitting here talking about it to look at it.
It is. That was good.
70% number for that first four,
It's
you know.
big employment jump though. I mean, we can modify it too if we want. Y'all have anything while Larry's still here?
Any other questions? Anybody else want to speak to that?
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Thanks, Barry.
Let's close the public hearing at 10:55. Item number 11 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding the agreement for development and tax abatement in reinvestment zone number 23. Thank you, Barry.
They didn't put any salaries in that, did they?
No, it didn't. Not, you want to question that 70% or do you have a problem with that?
Am I the only one on the court that has any questions?
I'm sitting here contemplating everything. I mean, I know the 70% is extreme, lease is only for the first 4 years, but the short abatement, 10 years. And you're talking about a place out there that's basically been vacant or failing for the last 20 years.
That's,
That used to be a thriving place.
like to see it
That's-
thriving again.
I mean, I see both sides of it. I mean, even at 70%, it's gonna pay way more than it's paying us right now.
Got that right.
Is it? What's,
I don't know that number, but I know that it's, the value's way, way, way down on it. You know, it's sold for less than $1 million a couple of years ago. On a place that probably cost $75 million to build in the 90s, probably, I don't know.
Now, are any of those previous businesses open, any of those stores, I guess?
I don't
Any
know
of
of
that
anything
is-
that's in there.
I know the restaurants are that are around it and all of that, but I was just wondering if any of the, and I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Well, do you have, what do you guys want to do?
Any thoughts on the other side of the court?
They're here, they're occupying it. You know, we might do 50% across the board for the full 10.
Well, I kind of agree with Jason on this in that I think 70% is probably better than, I wonder if it's not a deal stopper though, is it?
Oh, I don't, sounds to me like they're here working, you know, but,
That's why I was asking him if the cart had gotten put before the horse a little bit, but
Yeah.
well, the city and the other entities approved it for him prior, so.
who else approved it?
Do what?
I know the city approved it. Wonder if the hospital and the college and
I was gonna ask you that.
they're going, I know they're going to the schools. There's no way they're not going to the schools.
No, I got to.
I mean, it'd be one of the biggest, at the end of year, in 7 years, 300 employees, that's one of the biggest employment swing of any business that I can remember. Y'all think of anything in the last 15 years that employs 300 people in Cooke County?
Nope.
I mean, I agree with Gary too.
They're estimating the annual-
70% looks bad when you read it in the paper,
Yeah.
but when you're looking at the whole scheme of things, trying to provide some jobs, I didn't mean to cut you off, Matt, go ahead.
Saying their estimated annual payroll right under, just under 21 million.
Where do you see that at?
14 of 15, I believe. Yep.
You say 14 what?
14 of 15. Page 14, just right almost at the very end.
There's enough clawback in it. If they don't meet their commitment, they lose their abatement. But it,
This is the kind of, this is what tax abatements were created right here, this type of thing. This is not a wind farm or a solar farm or a small potatoes type of thing coming to us.
I agree. That would be nice to know if they've already moved the other entities, however.
And we throw it back at them at 50%. And go with it. See what?
they take it or they don't take it. They take it or they don't take it.
Say at this point, they probably,
You'll be glad to get it.
yeah.
You're saying it's straight across the board, don't tear it out, just do 50 for the 10 years?
No increments like that, just
What were-
10-year, 50%.
What page were they?
Oh, no, wait a minute, it was 70, 60, 40, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it steps down, goes
Yeah,
down to 40.
70, 60, 40.
At the end, it went back to 50, didn't it?
If we went 50 across, that's not a whole lot different than 70, 60, 40, believe it or not.
I mean, it's split the difference. I mean, it just,
Well, there's 3 years there that you'll pay less than well, there's 7 years there you'll pay. Let's see.
where is that break?
It's
What
right
page-
here, Bubba.
What page?
It's on page
On the top page?
3, on the top page, it's 276.
Rita, you still awake?
I don't,
It's 70 for the first 4 years, or 40% of the 10-year period.
I don't see that on page 275. Oh, 27, page 276, I got it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
70,
I had it split.
It goes to 50, it never goes to 40. 70% for 4, 60 for the next 3, and 50 for the final 3.
Final 3, yeah.
I mean, throwing 50 across the 10, I mean, it's probably the same thing, it just looks different.
You go 50 across the board, then you average out the appraised value over that period of time.
Right. Well, it
'Cause, I
probably,
mean,
it probably averages out, like say, you know, the last 3 years at 50% abatement, is that gonna be a whole lot different than a 70% and
But it depends on if you
First
have a
one.
huge increase in the value.
Exactly.
You know, have a huge increase in the value and there's 20% difference, then it could be substantial.
but if you go by employment numbers and things like that, it's, you know, that's what they anticipate.
Well, but actually, they're gonna get less abatement as they add more employees,
Exactly.
so.
How do you mean?
Well, they're gonna, the longer they're here, the more employees they're gonna add. Well, the abatement's reducing. So, I mean, this is something that the other entity signed up for before we were ever even engaged. So, and
Well, is anybody ready to jump out there and do something, or?
Wish we had a representative from them here.
From where?
I wish they were here.
Yeah.
oh, yeah, instead of the city being the face,
Well,
you know,
I'd like the city being the face too, but I wish,
no, I appreciate Barry being here.
What, you want to bring this one back?
I don't.
can.
I mean,
I
we've
just-
got enough questions that probably wouldn't hurt to bring it back.
Yeah.
We're just talking 2 weeks here.
Yep. Let's do that.
All right, I move that we bring this back on the next court 2 weeks from now. Melissa, did you get that?
Just take no action and bring.
Just no action and bring it back, yeah.
Like that.
All right, and that way I think we can get some answers to those questions. And you had a really good point there. Why isn't somebody from Track Bob's here? I'd like for somebody, one of them to be here. Okay. By the way, did I say the public hearing was closed at 10:55? Okay. Didn't remember if I did or not. All right, item number 11 is no action. Item number 12, deliberate and consider possibly approving using Siri funds to purchase emergency power generator for EMS Station 5.
Yes, sir. We put out requests for bids for the generator at EMS Station 5. EMS is ready to go, maintenance is ready to go. We did receive one bid that was within the amount we have, a good solid bid already from a local bid contractor to turnkey, put the generator in down there. I would request that we bring this back to the next court as we anticipate 1 to 2 more bids coming back locally, and so give us our best options there. But everything's ready to go, the money's there. We actually have it all done, manage the project, and give the invoice to TCOG. They pay it out of our Siri grant monies, and off we go. So, but at this time, I would request that we bring this back next court, and we should have those other bids by then. Ma'am? Quotes, excuse me.
Yeah. Anybody have a problem with that?
Good with that.
All right, thank you, I appreciate that. That was item number 12 is no action, and we'll bring that back also. 13 is deliberate and consider possible landfills in Cooke County. Matt, you got that one?
Well, we reached out to Allison Bass, or Melissa did, and they offered to draw up the paperwork for us. We just need to, we want to enter an agreement with them or what, but we need to have some legal advice on it. So.
I think they've already sent that
Retainer.
And I talked to him. I'm convinced we do need to do this. I don't think there's any reason.
I might look up 10 years from now and wish we would have done it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think it's a wise thing to do, and it does happen.
Whenever we go out for like this type of service, Shelley, is there anything in the budget that, like a line item for this type of thing?
What service are we talking about?
The
Legal service, should.
Legal
Attorney
services to help us
Yes,
with
it's
this?
budgeted in our fund.
Oh, you're wanting so approval to use the attorney, is that right,
Use
man?
Bass and Allison to,
You'll make that motion?
Are
I'll
we
make the,
thinking of putting in a landfill?
we're not
No,
wanting
we're-
to prevent one.
Here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to prevent, Matt brought this back, but basically it went out to all the counties essentially, that if you don't have areas designated to become landfills, whether you ever use them or not, that doesn't make any difference. If you have areas that are designated to be landfills, then that prevents anyone from coming in, just starting a landfill over here someplace. So that's what.
We make a
that's all
zone
about.
that's the
That's
only
right.
zone in the county that can be done for landfills without other approval.
And that does I remember several years ago, individual in Valley View buried a house. He had to dig it up, but it does happen.
There's a motion, Matt, I'll second
What,
it. Matt made the motion to
okay.
hire Allison Bass.
Commissioner Sicking made the motion to go through with the agreement with
Allison and Bass.
Allison and Bass for the identification of landfill sites, second by Commissioner Hollowell, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Then there are none. Item 13 passes 5-0.
And attorneys are exempt from
Bid.
bidding for professional services.
Okay.
Say that again.
Hiring an attorney
Yeah.
is exempt from bidding or seeking qualifications because it's a professional service.
Okay, item number 14, deliberate and consider possible action on library facilities project. And is that Rick? Is he? There we go. Thank you.
So we have two different quotes here, and allow me to explain them to you because the way each one of them put it on their paperwork, it's hard to understand who's bidding what. And to try to get it apples to apples. So if you look at David Parsons' quote, the highlighted dollar amounts is reflected down below, which is $11,440. Then you go to MMI, and his I've highlighted the ones that are comparable to what David Parsons quoted, and his total is $20,664, and that's apples to apples. Now, there are some other things on there that are not highlighted, and we can talk about them also. But that's the two quotes for repairing the workroom, putting the door up in Jennifer's office, and reworking the bathrooms. And that's it. That's the apples to apples.
Did you give them a spec to go bid?
I showed them the project, each project, there was not a written spec. So the other items, for example, on David Parsons, that's not highlighted. He priced redoing the meeting room, putting sheetrock up in the meeting room, taking bed and texture, and the countertops in there, and a couple of doors in there. MMI did not price that project.
What is the, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask you, do we need to go back to these and get them to work it again, or, because it appears that we have too many differences between the two
Well,
in what they're going to do, let's put it that way.
No, the highlighted areas is quoting the same thing.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I have a question for you. Is this the same as this?
Yes.
That's.
I'll explain that. I'll explain that in a minute, yeah.
So if we just add the highlighted areas, Parsons is the 11,440 and the other's 20,664.
Correct.
On the Parsons bids, remove the granite tile on the exterior wall. I don't remember talking about doing anything other.
That's something that needs to be done.
Okay.
And while they were here, I let them look at it.
Okay.
Is this something we talked about in the last budget?
I'm sorry.
Is this something we talked about during the last budget?
Yes. What it is, we don't talk about that now. What the marble tile that's on the outside of the building and the entryway from door to door is cracking and falling apart, needs to be repaired, replaced, whatever. So the problem is it's about 2 inches thick. When you take it off, you're gonna have a cement block wall. MMI priced it to plaster back over that. The issue is that where the flashing comes over the top, you've got a 2-inch gap, and the plaster is gonna be 3/4 of an inch thick or something. So you're gonna have to put a piece of trim or something up there to take care of that flashing. David Parsons priced it to take it off and put a faux rock product back on it, replace it with another material other than stucco. So the difference in the price there is going to be the cost of that material. Which would
It
be,
just looked like they bid two different things. One of them took on some of the project, or took on additional things, right?
yes.
That's what makes it hard to compare.
That's what I was trying to get into in the beginning there.
Well, it's very difficult to get them to even look at it. I can't even hardly get anybody to come and even look at it. That's my issue. So while they're here, I let them look at everything that needs to be done.
But
I understand that, I just wish they'd separate it out.
Right.
I have a question. On Parsons, you did not highlight to install sheetrock in the meeting room, but under MMI's, the 17,000 includes removal of meeting room paneling and sheetrock exposed.
He's already done that. If you see the next line down there, it says $2,500. So he put that in his price up there, but that's really not included in that. He has already removed that, and he just hasn't sent us an invoice on it yet.
Just haven't sent you a bill yet.
That wall is the wall that had been shoveling that they agreed to have taken down in October.
Right, so then this 20,000 is not a good number.
Yeah, she's saying that.
Right, but it's not included. It's not included in the 17,000.
Well, there's a notation here, it is.
I know, but it's not.
Then we don't have a good quote.
Okay.
Do we need to have them do it again, or,
It's up to y'all.
yeah? What do y'all think?
It needs to be apple to apple.
That's what I'm saying.
And what I'm
Is it
saying
gonna-
is, the highlighted part is apples to apples.
I guess, would there be any way to make a list when you do your walkthroughs and be sure that each one of them addresses each item? I understand you got a challenge getting them here, but if they're here, you know, if you don't have a checklist or something, you walk two guys through, you may not address every item that you need, and then one of them's bidding one thing, one's bidding something else, and our bottom line, we don't know.
They both had the same list. They both had the same list.
So,
Well, let me ask, because I can't remember.
Okay.
When Woody came and did the first bid,
Yes.
we didn't have the specifics of like the
Right.
completely all the room that needed to be done, like the sheetrock for all the walls. When he came, he just, and he kind of looked around. We didn't talk about the sink and the doors.
Right.
So
We didn't ask him.
That's why his bid does not have that stuff, right? Is that
Correct. We didn't know what we were gonna do at that time.
So he really needs to come back, if we look at that, is what you guys are saying, so that we can have his bid completely match. Is that correct? I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
it needs to
asking, so
be-
Ricky and I have an idea, I'm just
We
confirming.
need to list out every project that needs to be done and then let them bid it apples to apples. They both need to look at the same,
They did.
yeah. No, it's,
That's why I highlighted those two things.
and I understand that, it just, But like, you know, Parsons bid a sliding barn door and then they put an operable door. I mean, it's just not apples to apples.
So in MMI's list up there, it says frame and install operable door. That's what he's talking about. That's what he just
He's talking about
explained.
doing a barn door.
I'm sorry?
He's talking about doing a barn door.
Yes, a sliding door. Yes.
You don't have to frame in a sliding door. That's what I'm saying, it's just not apples to apples. What do y'all think?
I can go back to him and get him to come back, if I can get him to come back.
I know that's hard. It's a frustrating situation.
Well, if they've already been here, what you might do is go pick one of these lists and be sure both lists are sent back to them identically, and then get them to put a number beside each line item, and then you got, sure enough, a true
Yeah, they don't have to
comparison.
come, they don't have to come back out. They probably got notes on
Yeah.
how they did it. Just kind of readjust the way they present it to us.
And if the demo is not relevant, pull it off of it, you know, like the $2,500. You say he's already done that, right? So it shouldn't be part of a proposal, I wouldn't think. That's just my thinking.
Yeah. Revisit that.
Can you do that, Rick? Just
I'm sorry?
put these line items together, make sure they're the same, white out the bid numbers and send it back to both of them, let them refill it in, that way we know they're,
I've already done that once, but I'll do it again, see if I can get them to,
just send them the bid sheet and tell them this is what we need filled out. That way we know where everything's, they're both looking at the same thing.
Okay. Item 14 is no action then, and we'll bring that one back.
Thank you.
Item 15, deliberate and consider possible action regarding Fairground Road.
There's
Mr.
nothing there.
Sicking.
We have nothing, they haven't got their paperwork back to us yet.
Okay. Item 15 is no action.
You're just gonna table it,
Table it
so
now.
it comes back the same way?
Yeah. And we'll bring it back. Item 16, deliberate and consider possible action regarding EMS salary budget amendment request. And I understand that's a $1,000 amendment to the budget due to having to have replacement people from time to time.
He's not here.
He's not here. I talked to
Moving money
he,
out.
he was ill this morning. He called me and that's what he told me on the,
He's moving money out of salary line to extra help.
right. He's having to have other people come in and fill in for,
There was several amendments for him on the consent agenda too, so is there?
this is a different thing.
Okay.
And, I don't see any,
But the agenda item doesn't say, well,
I make a motion with that we move the $1,000 from to where he needs it. Where does he need it in the
extra help and overtime.
extra help and overtime then?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Arden.
Guys, this is February,
Right.
and so we may need to get with him and help him and see what he's gonna need for the next 4, 5, 6 months.
Yep,
'Cause we're not far into the budget.
I agree. All right.
Take,
Second, yeah, all right. All in favor of item 15, I'm sorry, 16? Aye. Any opposed? There are none. Item 16 passes 5-0. Item 17, deliberate and consider possible action regarding appointment to the TCOG Board of Directors. Judge John O. Roan replacing Commissioner Adam Arndt.
I'll make that motion.
I don't know, you want to discuss that?
Now we're good.
Sure?
Yep.
Okay. We have a motion, Commissioner Arndt, and second, Commissioner Snuggs, that I replace Commissioner Arndt on the TCOG board. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? There are none. Item 18, deliberate and consider possible action regarding appointment to the TAPS Board of Directors. Commissioner Matt Sicking, replacing Commissioner Leon Clement. And I'll make that motion.
Second.
I made the motion, second, Commissioner Snuggs. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? There are none. 18 passes 5-0. Item 19, deliberate and consider possible action regarding appointment to the Meals on Wheels Board of Directors.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Snuggs moves to approve. I'll second that one. All in favor? I guess I can second
I
mine.
wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't.
I'll second it.
All right, we'll do Commissioner Arndt. All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0. 20, deliberate and consider possible action regarding appointment to the Tazewell Board of Directors. Judge John O. Roan replacing Judge Steve Starnes.
Move to approve.
Move
Second.
to approve Commissioner Snuggs. Second, Commissioner Arndt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? There are none. Passes 5-0. Deliberate and consider possible action regarding county fire radios going digital. Commissioner Arnold. Oh, before we do, I think, is this,
Yeah. So we were asked to do the testing on the digital side. We completed that. Went out Saturday and played 3 or 4 hour deal and hit a lot of different points. A lot of bad spots that we've had over the past. Indian Creek and Valley View Fire went along with me. We went out to different areas and it was a lot better on the digital side.
all right. Is this where you got your 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, go for it.
I don't have near the notes that I had last time. No, just to touch on because I know it's 2 different topics here, just to touch on the digital side testing. First, I apologize for not getting as much testing done as I initially wanted to. I ended up getting pretty sick and was out for several days. But like you said, we went out Saturday for several hours and tested not just our districts, but we went all over to the extremes of our districts in the county. And the coverage with digital versus analog was just better. I mean, just crazy how much difference there was. I went all the way down to Cross End Ranch, down in the valleys, down by on 51, the county line, and got out of my truck on a portable and digital. I was hitting no problem. Analog, it just is static. Same thing with we had a truck go all the way up to Dexter, up to the river north of Dexter. I could go to Johnson Branch to the boat ramps. Adam went all the way up to the river north of Vulture, and the digital coverage was just, and this is all on Kenwood's, Kenwood mobiles, Kenwood portables. There was a Motorola mobile that he was using to listen to us, but he had his portable as well.
And it was just significantly better just being on digital, and that was with our Kenwoods. Now, I do understand the fact that, like, I understand how this radio system's working. We've only got 2 towers that are up, that are, whichever way it is, receiving or transmitting. I understand there's still going to be overlap. After talking with Shipman Communications, there will be the overlap, just like analog has, but my understanding is that area is going to be a lot smaller and a lot more defined. We haven't found those areas yet. That'll be something we'll have to tackle, so I'm going at this saying digital's better with the understanding that, yes, I know there will be, at some point, we will probably hit that one spot that we just don't get out. But both ways it was a lot better. That's all I've got for the digital testing.
When y'all did it, were on the digital frequency at that location and then switched to analog?
A few places we switched to analog. Not everywhere we were, just because, I mean, it was just night and day difference. There was several places where we had tested analog just a day or two before. And for instance, standing in front of our fire station on analog, you could barely get out. It was staticky. If you got too close to the buildings, you wouldn't get out at all. I did the same thing on digital. It got out, it caught the path that it needed, and we were able to talk and receive both. So there was several. I mean, we've been all over. I know the radio guys have been all over. We've been all over our district, driving everywhere. We've tested the same spots on both sides.
Did you catch what he said early on? On analog, you're just running on 2 towers. So if they tested analog and digital in the same spot, digital would absolutely outperform your analog.
I couldn't hear what you said.
He said digital did better if using only the 2 towers.
Yeah.
No, what I said was, when you test analog and digital side by side from the same location, the digital had the advantage of all 4 towers transmitting and receiving, where analog didn't. And there's no contest, guys. Digital will sound more crisp than analog. Which, I don't think anybody's debating that at all.
Can I ask a question to Wes? So on the analog side, kind of made me think about it. 2 towers are receiving currently and 4 are transmitting.
No. Analog, all 4 are receiving, only 2 transmitting. On digital, everything's receiving and transmitting.
Okay, time out, guys.
What's wrong with that?
So I wanted to make sure I was saying it
No
the right
problem.
way. So
All right. We need, if a person's gonna speak, to stand them up to the podium, identify
I
themselves.
apologize.
I mean, not an issue, we just need to.
Yeah, that's fine. So,
Because I don't know that the tape's picking up.
That's fine.
This is sharing, is where I'm headed with that. I don't, the exchange is great, we need it.
that's all I have on the digital side. Unless you got any other questions. I've got more for the next agenda, so.
Not at this point, well.
Melissa, anybody else signed up to?
So not on that one. The next one is on item 26 that we have for sign up.
Okay.
And that one too, yeah.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks for the help this weekend.
Say again.
I was just telling Zach, thanks for the help this weekend.
So why would we wait?
What's it gonna cost?
Programming.
Okay.
Can we mix this in and talk to Motorola too, since they're all here?
You talking about item 26?
Well, last meeting we couldn't.
I mean, or we can, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of
The difference in last meeting and this meeting is we was about to make a motion to possibly spend money. And it was outside the realm and actually, I mean, it's up to you guys. You can make a motion and do whatever you want, but they're here to visit with us and answer any questions. and they're willing to do that on any line item. So, but for digital, while we're focused on it just a minute, we jumped around so much 2 weeks ago. By the time we got done, I didn't know come here from Sikkim. So if on the digital, are you guys ready to accept the responsibility that the Kenwoods may not work in a simulcast mode?
They worked perfect the other day.
Okay.
And if they don't, we've got radios somewhere, right?
I don't know, do we?
Would you like to weigh in
What
on this,
radios?
Ray? So would you like to weigh in on this a little bit?
I mean,
We took radios out of EMS, we took radios out of,
it depends on how many we need. Adam, do we know how many we need? See, that's the kind of stuff we need to know, is how many we need and how many it's gonna cost, what it's gonna cost us. I don't, if you guys wanna say, hey, let's go program and go digital, accept the risk, then there's enough Kenwoods out there, I guess, to go make it happen. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ray.
I don't know, what would you like me to?
Identify yourself.
Ray Fletcher, Cooke County Emergency Management Fire Marshal. So I'll give you my, I guess, my thoughts, but I think our goal should have always should be to go digital as soon as we can safely. That the Kenwoods may or may not function appropriately in certain areas. I know they went out and tested pretty rigorously and didn't find any of those issues. Is that small likelihood any different than the analog problems you're going to have in the same areas? Is there risk in both systems? It sounds like there must be. If we're still going to have the overlap areas in analog that are going to chunk out the radios, then what's the difference in that same possible issue with the Kenwoods? But from the information we received from an earlier inventory from the departments, again, I believe that 20 mobile radios other than that are right now in Kenwoods are in vehicles or apparatus. If we used the Motorola's that were removed from Sheriff's Department and EMS and replaced with dual band radios, then I think we can get real close to at least ensuring all the apparatus have, I wouldn't say guaranteed, but the best coverage possible in the simulcast digital mode. From a portable radio perspective, I'm not sure we would be able to get quite as close to that, but I'm sure we would be able to get every department at least a couple of radios at this time. The issues or challenges there would be that paying for the installation of those additional radios in the identified department's apparatus, and then reprogramming all of the radios to include the digital fire frequency in them are challenges I see in going forward with that. I'll pause for questions.
My understanding, if we utilize the Kenwoods, we don't need anything.
The programming.
Yeah, I need
Right.
programming. They gotta be, if we use the Kenwoods, all we have to do is go program them.
If we go as is today, yes, sir. That's
Okay.
true.
How many have to be programmed? I'm sorry to butt in, but
I believe a budget number, or at least a guess number, scientific guess. There's 80 apparatus, we know that, so 80. And then if we figured 2 portables per apparatus would be 240 total.
Then you gotta add 103 or whatever, everything that's going to EMS and Sheriff's Office. You got about 280 radios,
All
I
that's
think,
already out there.
is probably where you're at on that. 3 weeks ago, the number of apparatuses was 63. It jumped to 80?
No, it's a 63. Okay, my mistake. So it's 20, it was 20 radios that needed work or weren't in that, and then the remainder, so 40. Okay.
But
So
that
60.
number decreased when we go to Kenwoods, right?
They're all going to have to be programmed.
No, they're all gonna be programmed,
Right.
right, but I'm just saying as far as buying radios. In other words, we don't have to go invest in radios if, again, You want to assume the risk on the Kenwoods. Now then, my next concern is if 2 months down the road, we've gone digital and the Kenwoods don't work. Now we're looking at what, 70 or 80 radios? We're looking at 70 roughly handhelds, aren't we?
Well, if the number was 63 on apparatus, I always would like to see 2 handheld radios per apparatus.
Okay.
So 63, 126 plus 63, 189 total. But 126 then portables. But how many portables are already out there that are Motorola's or not? I don't have that number right off the top of my head.
And how many of the Motorola's do we have out there right now that's nearing the end of life cycle?
Almost.
There's a bunch of them. So we might go for the price of programming today and then 6 months down the road have to come up with.
Well, I think if we make a move, there needs to be a group effort to go for some grants, plan, but right now the radio's got to work. Can we talk to Motorola?
Let's, here's what I would suggest. I don't know what I need to say to this court to say, hey, guys, can we just put this off another couple of weeks? Let's talk to,
Yes, Zach signed.
Okay.
you need to go?
No, he wants to, he wants
go ahead and make the rest of my comments.
You want to
I was
combine
saying for the next.
But you want to put it with 26?
Yes, he's
Yeah,
down for
it's- We're
both.
on 2 different agenda items now, I mean.
Well, right now, I think we're just focused on going digital. That's the line item we're on, and, I mean,
If you got something else you want to say, go ahead and say it.
Go ahead, Zach.
Okay, so, once again, Zach Cooper, Valley View Fire Department. So, 72 days ago is when we switched. So it's 72 days the fire departments have been without substantial coverage, without adequate coverage. Over, well, roughly 375 calls for all the fire departments in the county with less than adequate coverage. So my department alone has had a majority of those calls. So we're saying, okay, do we want to go digital? Do we want to assume that risk? We've already, you put the risk on us not having adequate coverage anyways. So you shake your head no at me, but like I asked you last meeting, is come ride with me and tell me different. We have been testing and tuning this analog system for 72 days since we switched. And it has has it gotten better? Yes. Is it adequate? Absolutely not. So my end goal is still, we need 700 capable radios for the future when we go and we all get back on the same band. So we're all back on the same frequency and we can talk when needed to each other, to EMS, to whoever else is in the county, to whether it's talking to y'all when y'all come out and help us with the disaster, whether it's EMS, whether it's DPS, whether it's, whoever's coming out to help. We all need to be on that same. So that should be our end goal. Right now I'm saying, yes, for us, I was told our Kenwoods are completely incompatible with this Motorola system. For now, until something gets programmed different, those Kenwoods worked flawlessly over the weekend. And the analog doesn't. And no matter what radio you're on, that analog radio is not working. But testing these Kenwoods, and yeah, we're saving the county money at this point because I can program my own radios. I know there's other departments that can program their own radios. We're saving the county money at this point. In the long run, no, we're not, because we're still asking for this 700 capability, however it comes about. If in 6 months or in 2 months, 2 weeks, whatever, if we could switch to these Kenwoods and all of a sudden they don't work, something happened.
That was gonna be my question. If they work now, why would just all of a sudden, it would just quit working?
That's why, that's what was eating me for me to get back up here, so I appreciate letting me come back up.
So hang on, we've got off on 700.
So my end goal, digital works. And we proved that. It works great. Unless there's something we're missing, something big that we can ask the other people that are here, I think it would be wise of everybody in this room to see what they say about it.
But Saturday it works flawlessly. If we walk out there today and we program and they don't work, something changed. So,
When you were here 2 weeks ago, did I understand you correctly that you could get on the Denton SO primary and do business as well?
so we have talked to, I couldn't give you an instance when we have done it, but I know we've talked to Sanger PD on their channels, which is using a Denton County radio. And we have talked to other agencies on their police and SO, fire, whatever, and it's on as needed basis. That's not my big fight here. I'm not saying we have to have it to talk to be on the SO channel all the time, to be on the 700 SO. I will deal with that with the right people whenever we get the ability. Right now, I'm just asking for the ability to talk to EMS and for us to even be 700 capable. And like we said at the last meeting, we're fighting two fights here. We're fighting, okay, we don't have coverage and we also can't talk to nobody. I'm trying to figure out how to get that back to where it's one fight, and doing that is giving us 700 capability.
Well, I verified with Denton that they do not do business on Denton County Law Primary. If you get on their channel, they will immediately reroute you. Fire talks on fire, EMS talks on EMS, law talks on law. Okay? Then what they do, if you actually get on their channel, they redirect you either to fire, EMS, a TAC channel, or another interoperability channel. So, and then, you know, if we need everybody on one channel, I don't know why we got multi-channel radios. And am I hearing correctly? Kenwood works good?
Let's talk about the digital deal and get.
Okay.
So,
The main thing is the radio's going to work.
All right, so,
I'd like to talk to Motorola.
yeah, so are we gonna move on to the next line item, or are we
We
gonna?
can talk about it right here. I do.
Right.
I want to talk about the
I want to
digital
talk about
radio.
this digital, getting this radio digital, so fire can talk.
And like I said, if you guys wanna go.
Motorola, could one of you guys stand up
Just a
here?
minute, excuse me, just a minute. Mark Johnson, please. If, Mr. Johnson, if you would, step up to the podium, identify yourself, and
My name's Mark Johnson, I'm with Motorola. Good morning, Judge,
Good morning.
Commissioners. I'm here today to report what updates we've made over the last couple weeks when
Mark, move that mic up closer to you, please.
I kind
I
of,
hope they can hear you, especially when they can't see you. You're soft-spoken.
okay. So I'm here to give some updates on what we've done to improve the system, specifically the analog side. Last week, we had a breakthrough. We were able to address the unit-to-unit issue that was brought up by the user community. We loaded additional parameters that we made, system changes with the help, and there's lots of details and man hours that we've had put in because we were meeting every single day to try and address your folks' issues. We loaded those inputs into the system on Wednesday. Then Thursday, the team here went out and tested it. I know your emergency management manager was involved. We demonstrated that the lost audio on the analog side was addressed. We actually also tested it down in the Valley View area and got feedback from representatives from the Valley View Fire Department that, yep, you know what, the issue that they were having with the clipped audio was no longer occurring. As was pointed out previously, in the previous agenda items, right now the system is working and transmit for 2 sites, not on 4. Well, on the analog side, the digital is working. All 4 sites are simulcasting and working perfectly. The last 2 analog sites, we're looking to optimize today. We started on Friday. And the goal is to bring those 2 sites into the mix so that we have 4 analog sites that are transmitting together. Because right now, all 4 sites have received, but we're only transmitting from 2 sites, from Rice and Pentex.
So why is that?
Because right now, we isolated our problem to, I think it's called phasing, okay? So we were able to get the 2 sites up. Those were the, how can I put this? And I know I'm going to botch it because my engineers are here behind me. They're the primary sites that had to be up in order to have the system and the brains working, okay? So once we were able to stabilize those 2 sites on transmit, all 4, like I said, are on receive, okay? That's where we were able to do our testing, check our phasing, network issues, things like that, that we've been going through for the last weeks trying to troubleshoot. We were able to get those 2 sites optimized, and that's where the improvement came on Thursday. So like I said, now our goal is to integrate the last 2 in so that we would have full coverage for transmit throughout the county.
Okay, I'm kind of ignorant on all this, so is digital just automatically on there, or is it that much simpler, or how does that work versus analog?
Go ahead. I'll let
I'm Carl Zimmer, Motorola. I'm Director of Communications for our field engineering operations. So some of the other gentlemen here I work with closely. Your question was digital. Why were we doing analog as opposed to digital? There are 2 different optimization methods for the digital and the analog. The digital, quite candidly, we got right to begin with, or early on. And I don't know how to better say it, but obviously we missed some things on the analog side. We had the 2 sites, so we had the brains of the system and 1 site for simulcast. So we get that optimized and get that right, and then bring those learnings to the other 2 sites in order to bring 4 sites up online later this week.
And just to point out, as Carl mentioned, we did test the analog side. We had an individual that was driving around the county and testing the analog, and they were able to, the dispatch was able to hear. So usually when dispatch can hear and you're testing your coverage, dispatch and they're being able to talk back, that 99% of the time, you've got good round trip. And by doing that, we thought that the analog side was working properly.
Dispatch can hear us every time.
Yeah, we focused on the
Truck to truck cannot hear.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, when it's gargled up, and that's the problem that's been going on for 72 days. And I understand that, yeah, we can talk to dispatch. In a fire scene, we only talk to them, 90% of the time? I mean, 10% of the time. 90% is truck to truck, which we do go to a ground channel, but it says all these other units are coming to that fire. The IC has to know, all right, I got 2 tankers coming, I got an engine coming, I got an ambulance coming, sheriff's coming because we got somebody that's irate, and then that IC has to communicate no matter what. And the gargle stuff. Now, flipping over to the digital side, let me ask you this question. Which is better, analog or digital? Truthful question.
From an audio quality perspective?
You bet.
Digital.
As far as a Motorola from analog 40 years ago to digital that just came out 20 years ago, which is better?
Digital is the future. Digital is now.
Is this phone analog or digital?
All cellular is digital.
Okay. That's what we're asking. That's what I'm asking as the commissioner up here. I want to just trash this analog deal. Let's go to the digital side. Hook us up and get that working. On all of our fire departments. We'll worry about the 7-800, but I want the digital where they can talk truck to truck. I mean, y'all are spending, I don't know how much money on analog trying to get that fixed because it's in our contract. Work with us on that digital side, and let's just throw that analog away and go digital.
Were you here during the sales part? Yes. Okay. Whenever it was sold to us, largest decision I've made as a commissioner, it said, and it's been so long ago I don't remember all the conversations, but it said, our new frequencies are going to work amazing and everything else is going to be upgraded. At this point, I don't know why we would have ever stayed analog to start with. But I agree with Adam. I feel like enough's enough. all the stuff rolls uphill, and we hear it every single day. And being a former firefighter, and we need some help on this deal.
Understood. I was not here when it was resold either, but it just fundamentally, we would have looked at analog as a bridge to get you to where you ultimately need to be.
And I'm sure that's the way it was in, you know, having a plan to eventually go all digital, but, you know, it just, now it's just, it's been an embarrassment to this court, and not everybody was here whenever it was done. And it's, and Gary said it just a minute ago, you know, can we just try 2 more weeks? It's been 2 more weeks for 75 days, and I've been patient, and I'm over it.
Zach, do you feel like you speak for all the fire departments when you?
Yes.
Okay.
I spoke to, in the last couple of days, I spoke to 4 different fire chiefs. That's just in the last 2 days.
Yeah.
I regularly speak to most of the fire departments, and whenever it comes to time to come up here, they're asking me what, you know, hey, I got your back.
So you're essentially agreeing with what Jason just said, Commissioner Snuggs and Commissioner Hart are saying. Scrap the analog.
Yeah, I said that last meeting.
Yeah.
Quite a while back. Scrap the analog if, and like I said, we could save the county money initially because our kids wasn't working right now.
That was the question I was gonna have.
You can do your own programming, you said.
Yeah, I can program all my own.
Can you program?
I know for a fact that there's other departments that can program their own.
Okay.
I can have that done within an hour of a sleep. That's like how easy and how quick it is to program a Kenwood radio. It works out.
In layman's terms, what would other radios, not just Kenwood, what would other radios be lacking that would pose a risk if we use them?
Question of Motorola?
Yeah.
Sorry, operational.
Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry.
No worries,
Yeah.
no worries.
Yeah, like if.
The fundamental thing that we're talking about here is the ability to do linear simulcast modulation. And again, I don't know your fleet. I'm embarrassed to say I don't even know your legacy Motorola fleet, let alone the Kenwood fleet and what they can do. You can do an inventory if I were going to be knowledgeable. I'm sure there are others in my team that know, but it's that LSM on the digital side in the subscriber.
Some kind of hardware, some kind of fancy thing that Motorola has.
It's a receiver type, I'll put it that way.
Like I said, it works previously, and then there are radios out there that are different brand than Motorola, including Kenwood, that you can still get an LSM chip or module.
Every time that we've tested, when I've lent my hands to test the system, it's been on Kenwood. Charles's truck has a Kenwood.
It all comes down to user experience. I mean, you should use the system and make sure it works the way you need it to work. I don't want to go technical, but there are other types of receivers that can receive LSM, but when you get on the fringe, it may or may not work, right? But if you go where you do business and you know it works, you know, certainly, I wouldn't stand it. Just know how it behaves where you do your business.
And we can talk about scrapping analog. Both these work off a VHF system, analog and digital. So they're in the process of perfecting VHF in general. Well, the VHF of the analog side. The contract, they're obligated to take your analog. Digital is out there. All we got to go do is address radio
I'm
issues.
giving them an out.
Well, but
Quit the analog. With that out, help us enhance this digital.
but you can't just wave a magic wand and eliminate a paper contract.
They're standing right there. Do y'all want to sit there and continue to do this analog and maybe get it? Or do y'all want to go and let's go to digital and rock and roll?
Our expectation, as soon as we get the last 2 sites brought up, I'm anticipating analog to be working the way that it's expected to work. With our goal is to try and get that wrapped up by the end of the week. So Motorola should have the analog side up and running the way that it was contractually meant to be.
And the digital then is just a matter of us programming radios. But again,
I'm for making it happen right now. We've been 70-something days. We're fixed to get somebody in a bind. I mean, you guys know radios. You know how that communication is. I'm not talking about a 2728 out here for people. I'm talking about when you got a command, instant command running, Gary. Have you ever run instant command?
I have.
A true one?
I have.
And you gotta be able to communicate with everybody. That's all I'm saying.
And I'm not even disagreeing with you, Bob.
Then why are we holding it back? Why are you saying we don't need to do it yet?
Well, the reason I'm saying we don't need to do it today is we truly need to understand the number of radios that we have out there, what the potential cost is. If you gotta go buy 70 radios at $3,000 a piece, where are you gonna get $210,000?
I don't think we're gonna have to do that.
We don't think, but nobody seems to put up hard numbers
Man,
on the
we've been running
radios, the radio
cameras.
inventory we
We have
have.
some
Bud.
radios in storage that we could switch over.
Yes.
Yes, Ray.
All of them come out of EMS. We got all them handhelds. We got all those truck radios that come out of their trucks.
That's not an issue, guys. We got Kenwood product. We can go make that
No, there were
happen.
Motorola's in the ambulances.
There was I gave you exact number a couple of weeks ago.
You email it to me or hand it to me?
No, I spoke it right here. There's 16 mobile Motorola's and there's 7 handheld Motorola's. Now, when we go digital with fire, you're gonna have to go digital with road and bridge. You're gonna have to go digital with emergency management. So somewhere you're gonna buy radios.
Why do we need that?
Does your road and bridge not support fire?
Well, they can go over on that interoperable channel, just like you're making them do.
We switch to, emergency management, or we switch to, commissioner's handle.
Yep.
Okay, but then you got the same issue you guys got now, I think. I mean, somebody's gonna have to switch a channel, and I don't have a problem. If your instant command goes to, the interoperable channel, I'm good.
You're trying to twist it up, Gary. All I'm trying to do is get them fired where they can talk.
Okay, and since our latest improvements last Friday, what has been the experience? I mean.
Kalispell, y'all had a fire, where's Kalispell?
Yeah,
There you go. I called, they said it was terrible.
It was horrible.
But the fire chiefs I talk to say, we don't care whether it's digital, whether it's analog, we just want to be able to talk.
100%.
That's what I'm hearing from fire chiefs I talk to. And their next concern is not the sheriff's office or the sheriff's office frequency, it's EMS they want to talk to. Their concern is they can't talk to EMS. And like I said, that's the reason we bought dual band radios. But if you go digital, all they got to do is switch over to the fire channel. I don't have an issue with that.
If we go analog, one of the tires go down, they're gonna lose service, right? Part of the county,
The towers have both digital and analog on it.
right? But if we stay analog on the radios, we lose a tower, we're gonna lose area, right?
So if you lose a tower, both sides would degrade. It would impact both digital and analog.
Well, right now you got 2 towers up and you're
Again,
digital.
I'm here to apologize for that. We're going back and we're taking our learnings from the first 2 and putting them through the second 2. That was.
They run off the same channel though, Matt, and if analog went down, digital would go down.
Correct. It's the same channel and the same towers.
Yeah, so if one went down, the other would go down.
It's gonna hit to the strongest tower then. Say if Sybil's Bend went down, it's gonna go to Pentax or whichever tower is gonna catch it.
Right.
But digital's gonna receive it, either it's gonna be on or it's gonna be off. Analog, you might get a scratch through it and it might try it, but I'd rather know nothing and then I gotta move. Analog, you don't know if they got it or not because it's scratchy. And they might send something back that's scratchy that you don't, well, did they understood what I said or not?
But you asked the question earlier about that digital versus analog comparison. It's my understanding that you reach a point, like you said, digital just drops off, it's done.
Sure.
Okay.
Analog does too now. It used to be a lot longer band. Now the FCC has pulled that down It's the same, basically, as digital.
Well, see, I've heard that due to narrow banding now, digital will talk the same distance as analog, but it just depends on who you ask. If we're sitting here side by side somewhere and we're talking, because my digital sounds more crisp than his analog, then the perception is my digital's gonna talk further. But in
I don't agree
reality,
with
that's
that.
not true.
I'm not saying that, but the crystal and listening to the analog being, especially if you got a headset on, you're trying to listen to that, to digital.
I mean, I tell you what,
It's what we
very
need.
quickly, we could certainly do the test. All we gotta do is set a radio here, one digital, and let somebody go out and talk with
We've
the
already
digital.
done the test.
What?
I've already done the test.
Well, a couple of you done tests, and I don't disagree. I mean, I'm saying it's more crisp, but is it that much more crisp? And if we had to go spend $200,000,
We're about, how many million are we in? 4 point whatever?
and so, again, if we gotta come up with another 210,000 just because it sounds different, where are you gonna get your money?
Well, how much money, okay, how much money are we talking here? We've got the radios, you can do the programming. How much money are we talking here?
I
Well,
don't think any.
Pennies compared to what we spent.
Well, in
Without
reality,
having fire
I'm not
departments in there.
looking for a dollar and cent. I'm looking for a huge amount or affordable or what?
just let me, first off, he can't program them all. There's 117, 18 Motorola's gonna need to
You
program.
got all your EMS ones you need to put in, you got all the ones in the sheriff's cars you need to put in.
Absolutely, but he can't do those.
No, I ain't saying he is, but
And he shouldn't have to. The volunteer fire department shouldn't have to be doing this.
no.
You know,
But they shouldn't have to be worrying about these analogs not working.
well, again, I sense that it's considerably different since Friday than what it was before.
This is no disrespect to you guys, but I'm done with it. This analog is junk. Gary, we're gonna get somebody hurt or killed.
In the same scenario, you can do it when you go digital. But let me ask you this, so
Crap or good? If I get them killed in crap, we're bad. But if we got it good and something happens, at least we got the best that we could do for them.
okay, so digital's wonderful. Kenwoods are working fine. Is that, y'all tell us the coverage is great?
Great.
Works great. Coverage is good.
Yep.
Voice clarity's there. You've tested them, you're as happy as you can be with the digital. Are we? You're representing somebody, I'm understanding.
As it's been working, as we did the test where we were, where Munster was a month and a half ago on their fatality, and they couldn't talk, and 7-800 was talking, we were talking on digital.
Okay, that's good.
Crystal clear.
So why would we want to go 700? Let's go digital if you want to go, guys.
Gary, I ain't talking about that right now.
I get it.
But, I mean, I could bring up a whole lot of stuff in this whole deal, but I won't right now.
Zach, you're just talking about going digital.
Yeah, right now the 700's a moot point. It's
Right
about
now.
getting it fixed right now.
I got it.
So which carries farther? Gary just said analog or digital doesn't. Which carries farther, digital channel or analog channel? Which one will go out farther? Truthful.
Boy, you want a technical discussion?
Yes, I do.
Draw a picture.
Okay.
The pictures work, Judge?
Yeah, it's fine with me, as long as you identify it.
There's only two answers. Or one answer.
Sign your name to it, so we'll.
I will do that.
Yeah, taste
I will do that.
art we can sell later.
Yeah,
While the picture's being drawn,
Okay.
who at Motorola has the authority to say, hey, we can help y'all reprogram the radios to help this transition over? If any of my personal businesses, if I put a product in any of my customers' cars and they don't work, I mean, at some point,
Okay.
you gotta draw the line.
Poor picture.
Okay.
Actually, these are right lines wrong, but, so, your audio quality,
Uh-huh.
your distance.
Okay.
Okay. Digital will more or less hang to a point, there's a knee and a curve. But
Right.
Pretty much, at certain distance, it's gone. It's
Right.
there, it's gone.
Right.
Analog, I should have drawn this line out. This line should go more like this. Okay.
Yeah.
Analog will slowly degrade as you get further out. So now the question becomes, what do you consider good analog performance? We're on this, we're in this chart, so.
So this could be
This-
unrateable.
Yeah, this could be multiple repetitions over here. This could be scratchy, occasional repetition, but I can hear it. It depends where on this curve you decide analog performance is acceptable.
I like the digital, because if we have 4
It's
towers,
there or it's not.
it's either there or it's not.
So right here, you will not get digital. You may not hear the analog. You'll hear
Yeah.
scratch.
Right.
Or not. So.
When this system was sold to us, it said with this amount of towers, you should have 95% of coverage on handheld radios. That's what was sold to me on this court. So that drawing off doesn't matter. It should work. The 4 towers that cost millions of dollars should cover the entire county. That's what I like. Does that make sense? So it should cover the county. I understand the difference in the trailing off, but
We passed the test on the digital side was the 95% coverage.
yeah, they were doing some testing this,
What about the analog?
That's what I said, is that we tested spot check when we went through, and that we didn't discover that the units weren't able to talk to each other because they were just talking to dispatch and seeing that they didn't, that they were able to respond. So that's where we didn't catch that we had an issue on the analog side. So that's where we've gone back and said, okay, what settings do we have to modify in the system so that we are able to talk radio to radio? And that's what the breakthrough that we had last week. So right now, those 2 sites, the Rice and Pentex, are able to talk seamlessly.
Yes.
We don't have that budding or the dropped audio, okay? So what our intention is, we've got the other 2 sites that are on receive only up in the northeast and the northwest, that we are going to take what we've learned on the first 2 sites, okay? We're gonna optimize those sites with those parameters.
Okay.
And we're gonna roll them in so that they work simultaneously for the analog system, just like the digital. All 4 sites would be working transmit and receive.
I keep looking to you guys to say, yes, that might work, or no, that might not work, or whatever. To me, once again, just make it as simple as possible here. You guys are the ones that really need for this to work now. You got it right. It's been put off since before I was here. And I may be speaking out of turn because I've only been here 2 months, okay? But I can see your frustration because, you want something that works now, this afternoon, preferably. You won't have it, but if you go digital like you want to do, you say all of the departments do, and if we can do that without breaking the bank, I don't understand the problem. Is that kind of what?
And that's the simple part of it right there.
The simple part, yeah, and that's.
The thing is, you don't know the number. You don't know what it cost you.
Well, yes, please do.
So Zach with Valley View again. Like I said a while ago, switched to digital. It worked Saturday. It's been working for us. So if something happens between now and 2 months, 6 months, whatever, and all of a sudden we key up one day and it doesn't work, in my mind that means something got switched. That Kenwoods don't work with Motorola anymore. Right now the Kenwoods work. I'm telling you, we can save the county a ton of money right now switching digital. We don't need your Motorola radio. We have Kenwoods. I can program my own department, except save for 6 or 7 Motorola's, which I can get programmed no problem. I know North Shore can program their own radios. I know that there's at least two other departments that can program their own. Yes, you will have to program every other radio in the county, but we're saving you because we don't need to buy these new radios right now. That's not my end-all be-all. That's what I'm telling you works today, is if we switch to digital, that you're not having to buy 60, 80 radios.
So what you're saying is, if we switch to digital, right away, you're where you want to be, and the other departments are. Is that, and then eventually, over time, we phase in the end-all, be-all, okay?
I think-
But for right now, you can do what you need to do and do it safely.
Yes, sir. I believe we can, especially after hearing these guys talk. We just heard them say that digital is now and is the future. The digital picks up or it doesn't, where analog may be a little scratchy over here, a little over here, digital picks up. And like I said, right now, every radio we have works on this digital system till something changes. So, I'm speaking for mainly my department, like you asked earlier, do I speak for the rest of the departments? I can tell you that the rest of the departments want something that works. And right now, that's the best option I believe we have.
The only department that's missing out of my precinct right now is Indian Creek, and I've talked to them, and they're 100% agreement with these.
They were involved in the testing Saturday on a Kimberly.
So they're
100% agreement with this.
Exactly.
And I've talked to Munster too.
I'm good. Sign me up. But not for the liabilities, but not for the liabilities or the future expenditures should they arise.
We can,
Well, but
Can we get some help programming radios with the sheriff's department and all that, so they'll have the digital fire? I know that's not y'all's department, but
I'd like to see what the count is. If it's at a reasonable amount, I can talk to my management and we can work out
and all the
something.
resources y'all got directed at it right now, I'm sure programming radios would be a heck of a lot less expensive.
It's gonna be 120 or less, I think is what it is.
And our goal is to still complete
I'm
the
sorry?
analog system.
I mean, fire's probably got 200.
No, he's talking about the 700 stuff, I think's what he's
Oh,
talking
the
about.
Put
700
the
Yeah.
fire digital into,
To the EMS and the
Yeah.
SO radios, which are the
Yes.
Apex 8000 state
Okay.
which is that at a minimum. If you wanna do the fire departments, then you're looking at, what's the number? 180?
262.
So, that's what you're looking at.
Okay, so you know what, why don't we put pencil to paper and I'll take it up to my management and we'll see what we can do on that side.
But at this point, they're so close to having analog perfected, we don't need to waive that. Let them fix it, and we need, when we program, to leave both analog and digital in there.
The only thing we had the other day was if you're scanning, and you're scanning analog, and you're trying to talk on digital, you would get that, it would try to pick that up. So we scanned, or we didn't scan when we were on digital.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to scan, but I mean,
But that's, so what I'm saying is, if you're running on digital, you don't want to scan the analog.
absolutely.
Just to interject real quick, you won't scan. If you're programming your subscribers right,
Right.
you'll program them mixed mode receive, meaning they can hear analog or digital. So for example, your digital channel would receive either one, but only transmit digital.
Okay.
That way when you're on digital, you're only talking digital, but if Munster or Grayson unit comes in and they don't have your new digital channel, they call you on analog,
Right.
you're still gonna hear both.
Okay.
You're only gonna transmit, you wouldn't wanna scan them,
Yeah.
because they're the same channel, so you're confusing the radio. It's
Right.
looking at two same frequencies, so.
Right.
And then same thing on your analog, if you switch to Grayson to talk analog, you want your analog channel to be set for mixed mode receive as well. That way you're not missing the digital call.
Can
So
we
you
get,
wouldn't want to scan it between.
I mean, like Whitesboro and them, can we get them to the digital channel too eventually, I mean, over the next?
Eventually, that's just it. I mean,
Yeah. Once you touch
if
the
you
radio.
go forward with this, it's a massive wave all the way around.
Oh, it is.
For mutual aid, they're gonna have to have it. You
I
know,
mean,
for mutual aid, you're gonna have to have it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean-
Well, we don't have it now.
To an extent, in my opinion, for interoperability, right? 'Cause you don't know how quick Grayson's gonna upgrade their units, or Love, or Monte, or whoever.
Right.
So there needs to be interoperability, that's the reason for a mixed mode system, regardless of what these guys wanna push forward or not, you have to have interoperability.
Right.
Just to clarify the programming that we had, I had two different banks programmed because I didn't want, I had a test bank and then I had our regular analog bank. So once we make the switch, I'll take those analogs out and take that test bank out. So we'll put it in mixed mode. So that's why we were getting.
But you're gonna leave the analog channel in there.
It'll
And
be the mixed,
digital.
it'll be the mixed mode.
Yeah,
So we can still hear on analog and then it transmits out on.
but you change the channel between the two.
No,
No,
no.
It does it
For
in-
testing purposes, I put two different channels.
No, but I'm saying,
When
in
we
real
program
world,
it-
once we reprogram them, will you not program an analog channel and a digital channel?
No, because that analog will receive the blurting from the digital side. So if you put the digital side in the mixed mode, you'll hear both of them on that one channel.
I'm gonna make the motion that we go to digital with the fire departments.
Is there anything needed to be added to that?
Gonna have to have a organized
I'll
cutover
head
date and all that, to
Yep,
where
go ahead.
give
I'll head
everybody
it
a
up.
chance to get, yeah.
Oops, right.
If I'm not too close.
Oh,
Well, you are too close.
I'm not too close, Gary. I'm in a couple.
No, really.
Capacity here the same as you are.
Do what?
I'm in capacity here the same as you are. As a community.
too
Okay.
close to what?
The fire departments, I guess.
Oh,
I mean, who would you want to be in the hen house? The hens.
What you got, Rick?
Well, I would suggest if we're gonna do that, yeah, we need to have some sort of plan that who is gonna do all the recodes on all the fire department radios. So if we've got maybe having Motorola cover EMS and fire, or excuse me, EMS and the sheriff's office or whatever they've installed, then that covers a portion of it, but who is going to recode all the fire department radios? Who will be responsible for that?
Well, Zach's gonna take care of his. I'm gonna have Wesley come out and do all of ours at Lindsay, and we'll take care of that.
With Lindsay's. I
Lindsay will take
understand.
care of our
But
own.
who's gonna pay for if there's a cost incurred for all the others?
Well,
What?
A cost incurred to recode all of the others?
Sound like we are.
I'm just,
Oh, I'm-
just questions
I think we
I
should
think that we need to
Yeah.
know about. And
We
then
don't
we
know what
need,
that number is, but sign us up.
we don't have to, but I think we have to.
we got.
That's what I was about to ask her.
I didn't even see her leave. She's a ghost.
Zach, you've talked a lot today, or you two guys. If you were making this motion here, what would you say about the, I'm not asking you to make it, but just give us your guidance here. How long should it take, or how would we get it done? And I think we've got maybe some expertise here, and you all have some. SO has some. Who all can program radios?
Yeah, I mean, Wesley's gonna be my guy
Okay.
on all our new stuff for sure.
Say again?
So they're gonna be the ones programming the majority of your.
That's what I'm saying. We have that expertise right back there.
but the rest of the fire departments, I would think there's probably two more likely, and that would be, Self or Shipman would be the two that typically manage and cook.
As long as they got the code.
And that shouldn't be a,
Either or, I mean, everybody's daily recording.
Yeah, yeah, and I want to make a note, I wanted to jump in a couple times and say this. I've heard this come up 2 or 3 times, that the system visual works and eventually stops, so nothing's ever going to stop. LSM is nothing proprietary to Motorola. Every manufacturer out there does this. So nothing works today, there's no reason it would just all of a sudden stop.
Right.
3 months from now.
That's why.
The deal with the Kenwood radio, the only point that's made is the current models they have, although they're really good radio, they were made prior to Kenwood supporting an LSM modulation.
Right.
It's nothing proprietary. Every little manufacturer has their own little deal that they throw in there that makes it work better. So it's, from a base station point, there's nothing proprietary about it. It's standard FCC APCO modulation.
Right.
I wanted to bring that up because I've heard that pointed out a couple different times, like Motorola's do something like that base station. They don't.
See, that was a question I had earlier. If everything is working like it should now,
It wouldn't change 3 months down the road.
3 months down the road, all of a sudden it's not going to just quit. Yeah.
You might have a Kenwood that the crystal can be messed up in it, you know, I mean,
occasionally.
we're gonna have that stuff, but we'll get through that.
Nothing can be done obviously today, but if we need to move some money from contingency or something, we can do it in budgeting.
Okay.
After we figure it out. I mean, it's not like it can happen none of this can happen overnight.
Right.
I mean, it might, you know, it might accidentally all be fixed by Friday, like you said, but in the meantime, we need to be working on the next move.
But if you,
Figure out how to get everybody programmed.
if they don't leave analog in there though, and this system's working during the time we're going through the transition, can they talk on our analog
Yeah. As long as
with
it's,
the mixed mode?
yeah.
Wesley, did you catch what I asked?
No, sir, I'm sorry.
While we're going through the transition, the programming type stuff, and you guys are gonna have analog set up, okay? We're gonna go program the radios to digital, but during the transition, do they need analog programmed in there and digital, which is where I was headed
I'll
earlier?
recommend leaving both channels in every radio regardless.
And both of them in mixed mode?
Yeah,
Because if they don't have analog, the ability to transmit on analog, then you may have a group of people that can't transmit. You'll have your digital guys are gonna be fine, okay? But if they don't have the digital frequency still in the radio, can they go back and talk?
Yeah, they need to have both, and if there's gonna be a migration, it needs to be an all or none, right? You can't have half the county operating on analog, you have to have the radio updated, because when my group over here is talking digital, it's gonna annoy the heck out of them. And they can't hear what's going on, so there's no mutual aid, so it needs to be, you add the channel, everybody's radios, you set a switch over date, you say, hey, we're gonna cut over the 18th of March, everybody change their channel.
Yeah.
So it needs to be organized, and every radio needs to have both channels. If nothing else for interoperability, it's just like Whitesboro, it's a perfect example, whoever brought that up. It's probably gonna take Whitesboro and Woodville and Sherwood time to catch up with that digital channel. So Callisburg's gonna need to be able to switch over and talk to them, at least on primary temporarily, until they're unseen in your V-Fire or VTAC or whatever.
Or you get
Yeah,
around,
you definitely need to keep up.
you can get around there and update theirs or whatever.
And some of them radios, and that's the problem you're gonna run into, which is another reason to keep the analog, and I can assure you, Sherwood doesn't have any digital radio. Gordonville's got a couple, Whitesboro Fire's got a bunch, but you're gonna run into smaller departments that don't have any, so that's all the more reason to keep that digital channel, and to keep it functioning.
Right. The analog channel.
Or analog, sorry.
Okay.
Adam had a motion, I think.
I got a motion for us to start switching, getting radios up to the digital side for the fire department.
We have a motion from Commissioner Arndt to begin transitioning to digital on fire department radios.
Now
We
then-
have a second, Commissioner Snubs.
Discussion.
Did that cover all of it?
Let me back that, on all of our radios,
Yeah.
not just
All
fire.
radios, okay.
Because we gotta have EMS,
Sure.
SO needs it in there.
And Paul, all that's good. We need somebody designated, Adam, Ray, whomever, to schedule this and get it lined out with the departments, not hit and miss. One group's gonna do it their own, would be my thinking. Yeah, you guys do it any way you
And
want.
associated cost within reason to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole deal. When you right now you're buying a pig and a poke. We don't know what it costs. So
Take that off.
If it's that much, I'll take it out of my budget, pay for the fire departments.
It shouldn't be a dramatic amount.
I don't think it's a big deal, but, I'm glad it worked.
But it's not gonna get done for free.
I know my citizens would be all for it.
Okay.
Are there any fire departments out there that would struggle getting it done?
I think we can get them all in.
Well, we'll coordinate and manage it generally, and just ask them when's a good time for it to happen for them. And that would be the easiest way that we've done in the
We
past.
just gotta get the tech in there and plug into the radios.
So I will amend that motion then to say that Commissioner Arndt be designated, change your over what? What do you want to be called?
I don't know, whatever. Project manager.
Project manager. There you go.
Ray probably needs to be involved in that too. don't he?
Second's still good? Second's still good. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? There are none. I believe that was 5, or was it?
Oh, it was.
It was, okay. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you guys for being here.
Guys, I know some of you travel long ways. I appreciate your show here, your commitment to what you're doing, and what you're going to continue to do to make it right.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Item number 22, deliberate and consider possible approval of repairing monopole tower lighting issues. And we are waiting for an interlocal agreement, I believe, are we not?
Yes, sir. I talked to the city manager this morning about Gainesville's
Okay.
participation in this program, and he was agreeable that for that price, they take care of it. I would suggest we have a quote now, 19,180, to completely replace the side lights, the top light, the control box, and remove at least 3 runs of old coax that aren't being used on that tower. So that will get us a day white light, LED, night red light, LED control box, all new electrical run up to it, down to the control box, everything, new side lights, all up to date FAA compliant lighting system on the tower. And he said that that was not, that they would be happy to take care of that, and that get it with the county. He said the county attorney was helping them actually because their attorney's not available, that they'd work that out and it would be taken care of. So I would request permission to get started on that.
Okay, approve, so do I hear a motion to go ahead and approve the repair? Or no,
I'll make
we're
a
gonna
motion.
we're gonna hand that over to the city of Gainesville.
No, so we'll take care of it, they'll pay the bill.
And they'll pay the bill, and we'll need the interlocal agreement with the
Right.
city of Gainesville to get that done. Okay, so will that be a no action, or will that be a waiting for the
You gotta
interlocal?
approve it, don't you?
Do what?
I think you need to approve it, don't we?
Well, except, I think what we need to approve is the interlocal agreement between the county and the city of Gainesville to repair the monopole tower, and I'll make that motion.
Do you have the interlocal, Judge?
We don't have it yet, but they're doing one.
Maybe if we approve the repair of the tower at this time, and then next court, you can approve the interlocal as presented, and that would pay the bill, because they
All
probably
right.
won't have even finished by then, but
Makes sense. Okay.
I trust they'll
We're
pay
getting
the
in a
bill.
window with the FCC, aren't we? Or FAA?
Yeah, yeah.
What was it, end of March?
Right now, it's the end of March. That's the
Yeah.
extension I've gotten so far.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead and make the motion to repair the monopole tower in the lighting issues. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Sicking. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? There are none. Motion passes 5-0. 23, deliberate and consider possible action regarding broadband services. Commissioner Hollowell.
We don't have anything on that. And we don't have anything on that,
Okay.
and ultimately that'll end up Jason's, I believe, on the, you okay with that, Jason?
Yeah, we're just not, there's nothing new on that.
Okay.
There will
so,
be in a few weeks.
Item 23 is no action. Item 24, deliberate and consider possible action regarding Main Street parking lot. Matt, anything on that?
Well, we're gonna meet Thursday morning with them, so.
Okay,
other
no
than that,
action now.
No action.
Okay, item 24 is no action. Item 25, deliberate and consider possible action regarding the Crest Building.
No action.
No action.
Oh, wait a minute.
Nope.
What?
Well, we talked about it the last meeting, the elevator. And I had checked with Rick. Is he still here? He left again, but he said it is not working. he said it beeping, he thinks it's something simple, but he doesn't know what it is, but if we're gonna pursue to try to sell it, I think we need to have the elevator working. I mean, that's kind of lifeline of the building.
Absolutely. I'm glad you remembered that. I don't know why I didn't. Who do we need to call? Rick left.
Yeah.
Rick knows.
I guess if you wanna work on that, get him,
I
so we can
will.
get somebody to come out and look at it.
I guess at this time, item number 25 is no action, and I will work with Rick, and you'll get the proper people out here to take a look at the elevator and service it or fix it or whatever is necessary. Bring that back next court, though. Item 26, deliberate and consider possible action regarding county radio communication system.
I think we've about beat that horse to
I
death.
think, well,
But we've got a generator, a new generator out at Rice Avenue. We didn't know that it was wise to order the battery when you order the generator. It's an oddball size. We've got it on order, but it is back ordered. Okay, so it's a 540 cranking amp battery is what it's supposed to be. We found one that's 320 that'll fit in the cavity for now. It's either do that or extend the cables and set the battery outside the locked generator cabinet. Rick and I discussed it. Rick's kind of wanting to extend the leads, and I said, let's not do that. Let's take the risk of running with the 320 co-cranking for that generator for now.
You do have one on order though, right?
It's back ordered, yes,
Right.
absolutely we do. But because Rick, he's concerned it's not going to start it, and going into summer, I don't know that we're going to have big issues, but that's, I mean, I'm scared if we're going to stick a box on the outside of it and put a battery out there, one, it'll either be stolen, or it'll be that way 20 years down the road. So I'm thinking we probably ought to go try to do it right. So I'm just bringing you guys up to speed unless y'all want to do something different.
all right, item 26 is no action. Item 27, deliberate and consider possible action regarding real property on Highway 82.
Everybody figured out where that is, I'm guessing. Okay. Bottom line, not going to take any action on it today.
Thanks a lot, Matt.
Thanks, guys. Shelley had some questions, and of course, the county attorney gave us some guidance, and I can't find that email, so it's not anything that has to happen today. So no action, please. Let's table it and bring it back.
We got 3 or 4 more items here. You want to?
I have a paper star over on.
Oh, okay. So,
No act, table.
item number 27 is no action, and just bring it back.
Yeah.
Item 28, deliberate and consider possible action regarding the annex. Once again, I'll refer to you on this one.
Guys, y'all know we're working on signage, so when you come in the door, the main doors, you'd have signs that says to the elevator and stuff of that nature. So far, our only source is pretty expensive for what ought to be reasonable. How would you guys feel about us putting small TVs? When you come off go through the double doors and go to the right, there'd be a small TV there, and that way we could change the signage if we wanted to at some point. Then another one when you come off the elevator, and then the JP's office wants one because their fees and stuff change, and that way we don't have them taping stuff up on the walls. The TVs are cheap, $100 probably.
How do you,
The wiring is what we're waiting on to go get a bid. Actually, you load them with a thumb drive.
okay, I figured that.
What about like the iPad we have here in the law?
I don't know that that's an issue. I mean, it's smaller, and they actually have to scroll through it with no more than we've got on the TVs over there. They probably didn't even have to scroll. I don't, but those iPads have batteries, don't they, Shelley? So that would avoid wiring. Yeah, they change batteries, yeah, and I don't know how much workload we want to put on them. But you guys want to entertain the TVs and see what it's going to cost to wire them? You want us to continue to pursue plastic type engraved signs? What's your thoughts?
Where would the sign, I mean, how would you do it? The sign's gonna hang on the wall like this when you come in, or TV gonna stick out, or what's the game plan?
Well, I would think the TV just be flat screen and up against the wall,
Against the wall.
about eye level. It's that, or the alternative is, again, go get signage made that would stick up there. Now, and of course, I don't know that the fees change all that much, but again, that gives you an opportunity to change your message. If you go to the TVs, you load it on a thumb drive, insert it into the TV, smart TV these days. Now, the TVs are cheap, $100,
Yeah, no, Daryl wants to get us a price on the wiring and what it's gonna cost.
Rick's working on the wiring if we want to go do that.
Do away with that glass cabinet when you first come in?
No, that gives you your floors and all that
Okay,
stuff. When you walk in the door, there'd be TV with arrows and stuff that says elevator, and maybe JP, the commissioners on the second floor, stuff like that. Then, when you get off the elevator, you would have a sign, or on the TV, however we do it, that points to the right, and it would have JP's, commissioners, and we need a small sign at the intersection where you would turn right to go to IT. No TV there. And a TV at the pay window, adjacent to the pay window to JP's office. So you're looking at 3 TVs, roughly $300 on the TVs. It's just, the question is about what the wiring costs. But I don't want to send off on a wild goose chase and go get us an electrician if you guys don't think that's practical.
Do we have any contingency money left over?
I'm sure we got a little money still. Shelley, we still have a little bit of money left, contingency money, right, with the annex?
Yeah, but that would go against the capital.
That will,
Would not, general fund, miscellaneous.
okay. For saying if we go buy TVs, we can fund it.
General fund?
Uh,
You say just general fund?
Yeah, miscellaneous.
Okay.
But what we saved on that contract would go back into the general fund at some point, right, Shelley? What we saved, whatever we had in contingency, will go back into the general fund. So it's 6 1, half dozen of another.
Want to make a motion?
I don't, Judge, I don't know if we need a motion if we just got a consensus. I mean, you guys okay with me going and finding out what's gonna cost to electricity and the TVs? Go get a number?
Oh,
I heard nothing to find out.
Yeah, I just want to.
Okay.
I just don't want to waste somebody's time getting an electrician out here
Gotcha.
and say, oh, we don't want to go, we absolutely know we don't want to go do that. So, okay. I'll go get some numbers, guys, and assuming it's not a bunch of money, see if we can make that happen.
Okay, no action, but bring it back next time.
Annex is just on there, Judge. It'll
Right.
be there.
Okay,
So it should fall off soon.
all right. Deliberate and consider possible action regarding proposed way station 29, and there's no action. Item 30, deliberate and consider possible action regarding the Prosperity Building. Who wants to take that?
I don't think there's anything going on, unless somebody knows something I don't know.
Well, that's,
I don't.
anybody know anything? I don't. Item 30 is no action. 31 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding various grant funds.
The FEMA 20 COVID grant has been submitted, however, they've come back and asked for some,
Documentation.
how do I put this right, very detailed. How many widgets did you buy and how much were they each and
Why?
so I'm currently working on that.
Prove you needed it.
And the CTIFs is still coming along.
All right.
No money for precinct 3 or 4.
Huh? Your money's already been posted. It was posted.
It's all here?
All there.
We got everything?
No, you don't have it, I've already posted it.
No.
So on 31, is that no action or is that progressing?
No action.
No action, 31. Item number 32,
Make the motion to adjourn.
At what time?
Commissioner Arndt,
Start
second
saying
Commissioner Snuggs.
Oh, yeah.
All in favor? Aye.
What time is it, Judge?
It is 12:45.
Coach, kitty bag.